I'd like to call to order the May 28th public hearing for the City of Tampa's Barrio Latino Commission. Welcome, everyone. I'm Rich Simmons, Chair of the Commission. If you are here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we just suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you'll need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff presents the staff report. We will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you're here to speak for or against the project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes. Take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and make their decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Zoning Code, Code of Ordinances, the Design Guidelines, the Secretary of Interior Standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee, HPDRC comments, and the testimony given at this public hearing. The BLC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence your cell phones. We'll start with the introduction of the commissioner, starting on my left.
Roberto Torres.
Vivian Solaga.
Leaving Win.
And from staff today, we have Ron Vila, Alexis Guzman, Heather Bonds, and from legal, Dana Crosby Collier. Okay, we have the minutes from the April 23rd meeting in our packet. Does everyone have a chance to review? If we have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from April 23rd.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Vila.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. This morning, under announcements in your packets, we have the BLC staff approvals for your review. We could receive and file it at the end of the meeting, as we do any other items that are submitted through the public hearing. Just under announcements as well, June and July, our public hearing is full. We have a full agenda, so your attendance will be needed. We reach out ahead of time, so please let us know your availability as soon as you can. Anything that's continued this morning will go to August. As I stated, that June and July are full. At this time, if the booth could pull up the preservation in progress, this is a segment that's fairly new to all our boards, that we're sharing some of the challenges and successes that we have. This one is in Tampa Heights. We've done some in Ybor City, but as I stated, we're sharing them with all of our boards. This is showing the vicinity map in Tampa Heights. It is in the local district of Tampa Heights. The arrow is showing the subject site. This is showing proper infill. This is the Sanborn map, and 1929 is the Sanborn map I usually like to refer to. The 3 properties in question, they were vacant in 29. They were vacant up to last year until the development came forward, and you'll see the vertical aspect of it and the compatibility of the project as it moves forward. So this is 1 block in from Florida Avenue. Moving to the overhead shot, showing that there were some challenges with the canopies of the trees that were there. As all projects moving forward, it's reviewed by transportation, by solid waste, by stormwater, by zoning, to make sure that the compatibility of the project is met as it goes forward to permitting. So the new construction took on 3 different vernaculars. They're all period references. But there's a 1-story house, there's a 2-story house, and then one on the corner that has a wraparound porch. This single-family house has a porte cochere that was very character-defining in the area, the period of significance in the early 1900s. And these are all single-family. This is just showing the footprint on the site plan for the second house. And then the third house, this is on the corner. Very atypical street grid, but they were able to fit in that wraparound porch on the corner lot that is very characteristic as well. These are the three structures that I talked about, compatible with the criteria in the early 1900s, but taking on a different form. So you see on the upper right, the north elevation, which is the front elevation, with a one-story craftsman-style home with a porte-cochere engaged into the house. The next one on the bottom at 211 Adderley is a two-story frame vernacular. And then at 213 Adderley is a two-story structure with that wraparound porch as I spoke about. So this is the finished product. And you see how it fits in with the neighborhood with all the knowledge that you have. This is how it looked in 2019. So from 2019 to 2021, what a tremendous transformation and a positive infill for this area. You see here as well, you see the brick streets and the granite curbing. That shows that it's somewhere special, and it's a historic district as well. And in totality here, as they line up, the scale and the massing is spot on, the setback, the elevation from grade. So it went through our board a couple different reviews through the Architecture Review Commission. And as I stated, this is a finished product. So very positive approach to preservation. And that concludes this segment. Do you have any questions? Seeing no questions at this time, we'll move to the conflicts of interest and ex parte communication with our legal.
Yes, good morning. Dana Crosby Collier from the City Attorney's Office. And this morning I have two questions to ask. The first question is, does anyone have a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda? Okay. And the second question, has anyone had any ex parte communication relating to any item on the agenda? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Moving down the agenda, under continuations, they are none reflected this morning. So we can move to the swear-in, and Ms. Guzman, I'll swear everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up and raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be providing today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Moving to the first agenda item, which is BLC-24-000077. This is for the address of 1517 East Fifth Avenue. The structure on site is a non-contributing, referred to as a Butler building, that was constructed in 1982. The underlying zoning is YC6. The request is for a certificate of appropriateness for site improvements. So the building will receive no review this morning, and everything is to the site. Just to give you a little bit of background, this building was residential in nature. They changed the use to commercial. As far as changing the use, some site elements had to be modified. They had to provide parking on site, and they had to provide ADA accessibility. I would state that the agents worked very tirelessly to find a more sensitive solution for the parking. There is a parking garage across the street that they could not satisfy the terms that are there, and then there's an alley, and then the alley became an economic hardship, and I'll let them move into that. At this point, I'd like to start with a photo presentation and the Sanborn map. This is from 1929. Excuse me, let me turn this around. Property in question is highlighted in the green. It does face Fifth Avenue. Do you see the intense fabric that was there of single-family structures? There is an alley that runs east and west behind the subject site, and the subject site is between 15th Street and 16th Street. This is just our vicinity map. I just like to show so you get an understanding approximately where it is with the total review within the local district of Ybor City. It's over here. This is an overhead shot showing commercial structures that are along 4th Avenue, once again between 15th and 16th Street. On 5th Avenue, directly across the street, you have the first parking garage that was constructed in Ybor City, and I'll show you a picture of that. This is the subject site that I refer to as the Butler Building. You see that it has a retaining wall, it has a perimeter fence. There are 3 parcels here, and the building sits in the middle of all the parcels. This is just looking at the north elevation. This is the east elevation. You see a road gate that's here. Just painting out a little bit farther. 5th Avenue, this is the entrance that's here now. When this first came in, it was reviewed by all the city departments, as I stated, and at that preliminary state, there was a variance that they thought that they needed to come forward with. The variance was a buffer from use to use. This is commercial, and this was in flux at the time. After further determination, this is commercial and this is commercial. So no buffering is required. There was a 10-foot dimensional variance that was advertised for, but no longer needed. So this project is coming forward just for a certificate of appropriateness. This is the subject site to the east, over here, vacant parcel. Moving around to the other side, you have the west elevation. You have a little bit more of the parcel in question. And over here, this is commercial and this is residential, but they have a 15-foot buffer here, so no variance is required. They will be penetrating this wall here to put an out for the vehicle. When you look at the site plan, it'll be apparent. To the west of the subject site, you have some period homes. This is looking down the sidewalk. Subject site is here. You see the knee wall and then the fencing here. They'll have to penetrate the wall over here, as they did here for the vehicular access. Just some street shots. This is looking down 5th Avenue to the west. Turning around, looking at 5th Avenue to the east. And directly across the street, you have the parking garage that I mentioned. That concludes the photo presentation. At this time, the agent can address the board.
Good morning, Isabel Albert. I'm representing the applicant. My address is 1000 North Ashley Drive. Well, basically, I mean, I think Mr. Villa did a very good presentation. This was a residence property, and they want to convert it to a private recreational use. And we've been going through this process for about a year now, a year and a half, try to find out ways of the proper way to get this conversion. We did look at different options of the parking garage. The parking garage required a 10-year lease, which was hard to do because we did not know exactly where we were going. But we are also told that we had to provide parking on site. And so we looked at different options. One of the options was the alley, and we did look at the alley option. But if you look into Mr. Marsh's remarks, he did come back later and says that we cannot access the alley. During that time, we also did the layout to have it all on site. But I don't know if I can show this to you. All right, so what you see here is here's the existing access right here. And what we're proposing is by providing the parking on site, we're going to the rear of the structure and then coming out back onto the street. We are maintaining that 15-foot buffer. Some comments that we did receive was to probably alleviate some of the visual. Like you see, it's pretty right now, it's paved. Let me show you. This is a better picture. This here is all paved, and it's quite paved all the way to the back. So what we're proposing is to remove some of that pavement along the front and put some low vegetation, some planting, 3-foot high edge to soften that up. That's basically all I have. The structure will remain as is. The only work would be done would be interior work. But it was, the interior was already quite residential. It was quite open, and they had a kitchen and then a bedroom. But that's really all I have, unless you have any questions.
Can I use the site plan? Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Avila, staff with Historic Preservation. Staff finds that the application is consistent as presented. There was one letter of opposition that was submitted into the record, and I want to bring it to your attention. It was dealing with the variance. The variance is no longer coming forward, so the letter is kind of mute at this point. Staff's finding that we have an existing condition here, and we wanted to soften as much to meet with the vernacular up and down the block as far as parking goes. So there was additional paving here, there was paving here, and then with the introduction of some landscaping to soften that up along the streetscape, I think that their project does meet our standards. So staff's finding was to indicate the paving material, so they're providing additional paving here, so if she could call that out, to provide landscaping to soften that impact. I don't believe any landscaping is provided here, but if she could illustrate that or delegate it to staff, if that's the pleasure of the board. And to remove as much paving as possible, once again, to soften the approach moving forward. So kind of minor comments. The project is kind of what it is. As I stated, they look for alternative means to meeting the current code without coming forward with a variance, and this is what's being presented. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vila. Anyone here from the public wishing to comment on the case, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, we're going to go ask some questions of the applicant, starting Mr. Torres.
Can I come back to me?
Sure.
The site plan shows that and the photographs show that there are wood fences on both sides of the property. Are those fences being upgraded or are those remaining?
You see this fence here.
The wood fence?
Yes, there's a fence here, which is pretty new. What we're going to do is we're going to put some landscaping there.
And how about on the other side of the building?
The other side, planning on keeping what it is there now. Yes.
Which is a
Wood fence.
wood fence?
So basically keeping what's there. Yeah.
Those were the only questions I had.
How is the parking being met currently? Like, how's the parking being met currently? Because now you're being imposed parking, so I'm just not sure what the background, or if the background is even relevant.
It's residential.
Is residential and got converted to commercial?
Correct.
Okay, is that
Yeah,
why?
let me interject. Residential, only one parking is required. They met that. It's the change of use that intensified the site for the parking upgrade.
Got it, thank you. And then, it might be a question for Mr. Marsh, but could you give us the background on the alley and why it isn't accessible for use on the site as well?
My supervisor, Melanie Calloway, and the acting city engineer, Robert Hatton, had a meeting about the access.
Could you, excuse me, could
My
you
name-
speak up a bit,
Okay, I'm sorry.
please?
My name's John Marsh. I'm urban planner 2 with Mobility. My supervisor, Melanie Calloway, and the acting city engineer, Robert Hatton, had a meeting about the alley access, and they determined that there's a site issue with the existing structures toward the end of the alley that creates an unsafe condition. And since we can't, eliminate the existing buildings that are outside the property, therefore they wouldn't approve it.
Okay, great, thank you. So then just back to the applicant. Is the paving that's being proposed for the site, is it gonna be concrete or asphalt, or what's the material that will be used?
We could do asphalt or pavers as it was.
Yeah, asphalt or pavers.
Asphalt or pavers?
Well,
Big difference.
right now, this is asphalt. And we were planning on putting asphalt around it.
Okay,
think it's concrete
It
right
looks
now.
like
Right now.
Or
concrete.
concrete, sorry.
It would just be, so you just,
Whatever's,
you're intending to match the existing,
yes.
what's there right now, okay. Got it. And then, so then with the buffer to the west, towards the residential side, you had talked about using some landscaping to kind of soften up the fencing on the north. Is there gonna be any landscaping, extra landscaping that'll be done on the west portion of the site as well?
On this side,
I believe it's on the
this
west
side.
side, that's the 15-foot
Yeah.
buffer, correct?
there's a 15-foot buffer,
Yes.
and then we'll add landscaping here.
Yeah,
Because we do have the space for it. Here, no, there's a.
Right, and
there's-
that's
yeah.
commercial to commercial, so you don't need that. All right. Let's see. I think those are all the questions I had.
Okay, so on your site plan here, that dashed line on the north property line, is that the landscape buffer
Yes,
going all the
so,
way across?
so when Mr. Villa put his comments in his staff report, it was based on the previous plan, and we updated our plan based on that. So our previous plan, we had, this was covered concrete, this was covered, this was covered. And so he asked to, wherever we could put grass, to do so. So this is how we updated this area, this area, this area here. And then we added the comment to have the edge here along this line here.
Yeah, because I think right where you're just pointing is concrete right now, and you're gonna take that
This
out
is-
and,
This is landscape.
nope, the triangle part over there.
Yeah.
That's all concrete right there.
This is all landscaped.
Yeah, the triangle part right there.
And
There's
then
concrete right
This
there.
is going to be, this is gonna be grass. And then here, there's some concrete, existing concrete here, that's gonna be removed. So we're gonna put grass here as well.
Okay, so you haven't talked about the knee wall and the fence that's out front. That's kind of an identifying element of this property for a non-contributing structure. It's a historic one that ties into the residence on the east side, or west side. What are you gonna do there?
We're gonna keep it, we have no intention of removing
You're
the,
gonna get a car through a knee wall and a fence?
No, they're gonna,
well, over here, we have to open it up, but there's a current knee wall, we have no intention of removing it unless we
So you're
have
just
to.
removing the section where you're gonna put the
Correct.
drive aisle? So,
Correct.
Okay. All right, and the curb cut's gonna be City of Tampa standards. Okay, well, I think we need to note that the knee wall's going away. And also, Mr. Marsh, looks like we're losing a public parking space out there on
Yeah.
the street because of this curb cut.
That is correct. The city will remove those on-street parking sometimes for additional access.
Is it just one space
Just
that
one.
the residents are losing?
Is it a
Yes.
residential one?
I think it's just a general parking space.
Residential.
I don't think it's restricted.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a residential there, but just one, so minus one. Okay. And the applicant, Ms. Albert, what's a private recreational use?
Well, the intention was to have sort of like it was a private club for cigars. They were going to have everything about cigars. This was a gentleman who's huge into cigars and wanted to sort of educate and have an area so that people can have their cigars there, and they would sit down and smoke cigars.
Okay, so you're calling it a private recreational use, but it's also a commercial use, right? So where's that nomenclature coming from?
The way it was described to me, I don't know, I think Billy's probably a better person to explain this.
Good morning. William Malloy, 325 South Boulevard, representing the applicant. The use was determined between discussions with us and staff as kind of the best fit for what our prospective tenant intended to do. What he really wants to do is a kind of a cigar showcase. He contemplates a giant, beautiful humidor in there and having tours come over from a couple of the cigar makers already in Ybor City. There's not really a niche that falls into specifically, so this seemed like the best fit. It is a commercial use. It's under the commercial listings in the LDC. Again, it doesn't really explain what we're doing there. I hope what I just expressed does.
Okay, so it's still considered commercial use, but it's a private recreational facility.
Correct.
It's
They
not a-
wouldn't
it's
open the
not a
door for
residence.
just anybody.
club.
It's meant to enter, be a
Private
destination.
Private club.
Yeah. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay.
And I have one more question. This is back to the landscaping. There are no trees indicated on this plan, and it seems to me when parking spaces are introduced, there are a certain minimal number of trees that are required. So I'm assuming, maybe incorrectly because they're not shown, that the property will meet the city's tree requirements.
That is correct. We're not intending to waive anything. There are some trees on site that are hard to find. There are some existing trees there, but we will supplement to what code is required.
And just bear in mind that think about what this summer is going to be presenting to us in terms of heat and sun, and it's nice to have some protection for those automobiles, and nature is the best route.
I agree, yeah.
Take my question now. Rich, I'll take my question.
Sure, yeah.
Is there a way to increase the parking without having to go through the knee-high wall, perhaps?
That's to get out.
Right, that's the only way that it works on site, to provide
That's
all
the
the parking
exit.
They
on
don't have a
site.
turn radius to do a pull UE, so it's a loop.
Got it, got it. I thought there would be space
It's
between.
the exit, it would be the exit.
Yeah, I thought there might be space between the building and the knee-high.
In front, it's pretty tight.
It's okay.
Yeah, won't meet City of Tampa standards. Okay, any other questions? Okay, you have a few minutes if you want to summarize your comments or rebut any of the questions
No, I
asked.
think good questions, and I hope I answered everything.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll have discussion on the case amongst ourselves. Mr. Nguyen?
Yes, I think the applicant's making a good effort to try to soften everything that they can, so between the landscape buffer that's required by the city and working with staff to mitigate sort of and soften up the fence up to the north side of the property, I think those are acceptable.
Ditto.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was a little difficult getting the information off the site plan. I don't think it was very well represented, but I think our questions flushed it out, so, no, issues there. I think we do have a few conditions to put on staff. You know, I think making sure that the paving is concrete and is continued through, landscaping and trees for City of Tampa standards, and then to modify the knee wall and fence, to maintain that as much as possible.
Okay.
All right, so make a motion then? So we can do a final approval with conditions for a certificate of appropriateness. So move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 24-0000077 for the property located at 1517 East Fifth Avenue with the following conditions: that the applicant work with staff in the city to meet the landscape buffer minimums and the landscaping at the north side of the property behind the fence, and that the applicant work with staff to finalize the paving material around the property. And was there any other conditions that we want to attach? Two ones?
Concrete paving.
Yeah, so around staff, okay. Because based on the finding of fact, the proposed project consists with the Ybor City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. That is a non-contributing structure that is looking to try to soften its impact within the historic district.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, or all in favor of said motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner Ron Vila. I am staff for Historic Preservation. Our next agenda item is BLC 24-000054. There's one application number that's been broken up to 4 different requests. I'd like to share the Sanborn map with you and kind of discuss this to bring it to in some kind of clarity to you. 22nd Street, is a one-way street heading north. You have 23rd Street to the east. To the north, you have 12th Avenue, and to the south, you have 11th Avenue. There is an alley that runs east and west between all of the requests that are coming forward. As I indicated here, there's Building A that's on the corner of 22nd Street and 12th Avenue. Building B is on the corner of 22nd Street and 11th Avenue. Currently, there's a non-contributing structure there. They applied for demolition of that structure, and we approved it administratively as we have the authority to do that. Building C is as you get interior off of 22nd. The zoning on 22nd is YC5. So from my pin, everything to the west is YC5. From my pin, everything to the east is YC2. It's more of a residential density. This is the request is C. C was very fluid coming forward. At one time, it was one structure. It has been broken to meet the scale and the massing through discussion with staff. So within C, you have a west building and you have an east building. And then you go to the south of the alley to building D that's going to be represented today. I'm going to have these photos. I want to give you an overview of the host site. And then as we get into it a little bit, then we could digress into the photos to hopefully assist you with the presentation. Along with this request, there's 4 certificate of appropriateness coming forward, but there's also 2 variances. There's a variance for a transportation reduction to building C and building D. Those are the requests that we're going to review first. The agent's aware of that. They know to focus on that. We have Mr. Marsh here that can shed additional light on that as well. This is looking at the vicinity map. As I stated, I like to show this so you see in context where it's at. We have 22nd, and all of the requests are east of 22nd. The first one we're going to start with was Building A on the corner of 12th Avenue and 22nd. Then you have B, C, and D. But focusing on A, I wanted to show some street shots and to show as the projects come forward, the compatibility with the streets, the curbing, the parkways, the setbacks, the elevation from grades, all of that should be respected. So the vernacular changes from the commercial core off of 22nd Street to as it engages into the district. So this is 22nd. As I stated, it's a one-way street heading north. I took the picture, I'm on 22nd, looking south, back towards 7th Avenue. You see some of the buildings, non-contributing buildings set off of the property line, and then some of the contributing structures that are closer to the setbacks. This is looking down 22nd to the south from the street to the granite curbing to the scoring of the sidewalks. You see some of the architectural elements that are in place, the landscaping, the hardscape. And this is looking to the south. This is looking to the north. This is 11th Street. That is brick. You see the expanse sidewalks, and then you see the 5 globe lights and the plantings that's there because there's power lines ahead, so you have to plant properly in that area. This is just another shot looking at a more totality of that one-way street heading north. You see the overpass here, but you see the sidewalks. You see the period 5 globe lights. You see the more vertical trees on the west side of 22nd. And then because the power lines, as I talked about, different species. Those are crepe myrtles. Going to C. This is on 12th Avenue. You see the interstate here. There's a gas station here. There's a Burger King, McDonald's. The environment's kind of changed a little bit, but once again, you have 22nd and 12th Avenue. This is more internal. YC2 is the zoning classification, and this request goes from that western boundary line that they're sharing from A to C to 23rd Street. There is that alley that runs east and west behind. Down 12th, there's a partial sidewalk that's in disarray as part of this request coming forward. I'm very big on the streetscape and that pedestrian and urban environment. All that should be brought up to some standards so that walkability is there. But this is what's here now. Across the street, they have some sidewalks, but you see some brick streets. This has a radius curve. There's no granite on the street. But once again, as you get a little farther, you see the recovery area as the parkway is, and then the sidewalk. So different vernacular as you move around this site. This is at the very end of this block as it meets 12th Avenue and 23rd Street. This is what you have. Sidewalks don't continue. You have some trees that are running interference. Natural Resources has reviewed this project, and there is no tree conflict. So the trees can be removed, and they either plant back on site at the time of permitting, or they pay into the tree trust fund. Directly across the street to the north, there's this period home, and then this board has approved new construction, and you see them moving some dirt there. Once again, to get you oriented, we looked at A, 22nd and 12th. We looked at C, 12th Avenue and 23rd. Now we're going to go look at B. B is along the commercial corridor on 22nd as it engages to 11th Avenue. As I stated, there's a non-contributing structure there, which is this structure. Looking at that structure again, which is here, that will be demoed. Then you see a little bit of the streetscape. You have the brick streets, the granite curbing, the recovery zone that I call the parkway, and then that linear sidewalk. That's down 11th Avenue, down 22nd Street, looking to the south again, the street, the granite curbing, the expansive sidewalk, and then the hardscape and landscape. Going back to the overall map, I'm trying to get you kind of oriented. I know there's a lot of different things going on here, but they'll be here for reference. We looked at A on the corner of 22nd and 12th. We looked at C, 12th Avenue and 23rd. We looked at B, 22nd Street and 11th Avenue, and now D. D is on 11th Avenue. There's one historic fabric that's here. That's where they're getting their elevation from grade and their setbacks from. I'll show that in a minute. But looking from 22nd down 11th, granite curbing, brick streets, granite curbing, parkway, subject site is over here. This is the subject site. Once again, no trees in question. Zoning has looked at this, transportation has looked at this, stormwater has looked at this. All retention will be underground, so you'll see no dry ponds or swales or anything to that effect. Subject site, 11th Avenue, across 11th Avenue to the south. You have new construction that was approved by this board, but you see the cadence of the roof lines. As I stated, at the end of the block, there's one period home. You see the setbacks here. Setback elevation from grade as well. I went through that presentation hopefully thoroughly that you can understand. As I stated, they'll be here for reference. At this point, we're going to focus on the two variances. We're going to start with the variance with block C. And the reduction for the variance is a vehicle back out reduction from 24 feet to 14 feet. And the code section is noted in your staff report, and also the statement of hardship is included in your packet. So as the agent goes through, they have 10 minutes to do the presentation. You could follow along. Ms. Gaines?
Thank you. Good morning. Stephanie Gaines with Grow Architecture, representing the client Site Development. Every time I stand before you, I say another interesting, unique project in Ybor City, and this is certainly another one as well. The client really, the goal of this project is to provide small infill for sale housing in areas that have been, affected over time by construction of interstates and sorry about that. Sorry. I've just gone blank. Urban renewal that occurred in many areas. This is one of the areas in this map. In this aerial, I always enjoy seeing these and studying them. This is a residential neighborhood on the outskirts of Ybor City. It happens to be the west side. I believe the street in the foreground diagonally is what became Nick Nucio Parkway. And I believe that 7th Avenue is toward the high middle section running to the left. And the thing that is so fascinating to me about these residential areas is that they are extremely dense. You certainly can see the patterns of gable roofs of all the little houses that were in there, all different sizes, some large ones right next to small ones. But you also see a mix of other buildings. Is this my pointer? Let's see. You see commercial buildings on the corner here. There's another one here under construction. This building is, the reason I'm showing you this is the intent of this project is to recreate some of this lost fabric in the residential communities. This is a building that is 2-story and is right on the main road. There are boarding houses in here. There are small schools and churches, and it's really a mix of building types. Well, this is what the residential areas used to look like. And now this is one of the residential areas that we will be working with, which is just south of the interstate, as Ron mentioned. And you can see that a lot of demolition has occurred. There's a lot of vacant property, and the intent here is to fill that in with small projects. This is just a close-up of this area that we are going to be looking at. This is an overall, I know I'm going to talk about the variance, but I just felt like we needed to give you an overall. For the next few months, we'll be coming forward with a total of 7 applications, and these are the locations. There's the block on the south side, way down here on the vicinity map, and then I'm sorry, I'm holding the wrong thing. And then the 4 blocks up to the north. So there'll be a total of 7, and we just wanted to show you the bigger picture. And then, of course, today we're here to look at the block 1 and part of block 2. Okay, so regarding the variance states that we are requesting to reduce the backup area behind the garage from 24 feet to 14 feet for building C, we call it Charlie, and building D, which we're calling Delta. 14 feet on Charlie and 20 feet on Delta. And the reason for that is to provide, the site plan is arranged to maximize the pedestrian experience by taking all the cars off of the streets and providing parking for them off of the alley that is there, rebuilding the entire alley. And our goal is to minimize paving in doing that and maximize green space. So detaching our garages on both of these developments allows us to break down the massing, allows us to put some green space and some additional lighting into the backs of the units, and provides adequate backup space. So what we're really trying to do is, let me go back one more. This is the project without a variance. We're required to have 24 feet from the back of garages to the back side of this alley, which is fine. We meet that on this part of the project. But where these two go back to back, we're proposing, I'll go back, instead of adding collectively 24 feet from this garage to the back of the alley and 24 feet from this garage to the back of the alley, which is what's required, we are asking to share the space. We still have the 24 feet between our garages, which is a required backup space. We're just sharing, we'll have a cross easement agreement with the owners of these pieces, of these for sale homes, and they can share the use of each other's property, so that the pavement that we're providing is minimal and the green space is maximum. In fact, if we provide this type of development, we will probably, no doubt, we will need a green space variance. So that is really it in a nutshell, what our variance request is about. Anything that I missed? Anybody? Oh, I don't have them, so I'll be happy to read. It'll take me more than a minute to read in the hardship. You know, we really believe that the goal here is to combine the design guidelines, which calls for buildings to be pulled up to the street and for cars to be, for the, you know, the ugly parts of maybe development to be pulled toward the interior and utilize that alley. So we're trying to combine what makes sense from a design standpoint and from a usefulness standpoint, as well as what's best for the community. We feel it's better for the community to have less pavement and more green space. But I will read for record the comments that we've made. The development hardship practical difficulty for this project is caused by the need to find common ground between the requirements of the City of Tampa's multiple departments, which try to accommodate modern safety and convenience and the protection of the distinct character of the historic district, while providing much-needed homes for current lifestyles. Further, due to the severe effect of urban renewal in the 1960s and interstate construction, this specific area is additionally burdened with the loss of its historic development pattern, which used alleys aggressively for service functions. While these proposed residences are not huge by any means, living needs are different than in the past. Beyond the front porches provided in each residence, small private spaces are desired. Detached garages provide that small space and allow access for natural light into the residence. Number two, the hardship or practical difficulty does not result from the actions of the applicant. The applicant is providing much-needed appropriate housing for today's needs. To meet those needs while adhering to all other regulatory requirements requires the reduction of an area between garages to 24 feet, which is the city minimum, which would otherwise be just additional paved area between the garages, serving no purpose for the individuals or community. The variance, number three, the variance, if granted, will not interfere with the health, safety, and welfare of others. In fact, it will provide safer, shall I continue with? It will provide a safer environment by moving vehicular traffic from the public streets to the alleys in the rear of the homes while minimizing the actual paved area, allowing for better water absorption by use of green areas between the garages and residences. Excuse me. Number 4, the variance is in harmony with the vision of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan by providing new housing that supports a walkable urban village. Number 5, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done regarding both public benefit and individual hardships by recreating a safe and attractive pedestrian-focused streetscape and by allowing space on these small lots to provide enclosed parking facilities on the rear of the properties, which further beautifies the neighborhood and is a benefit to all. And number 6, the variance, if granted, will allow development that is not only consistent with, but that exemplifies the design standards of the historic district of Ybor City by providing pedestrian-focused street experiences and concealed parking, while meeting the needs of modern households and with relationship to size of homes and accommodation of cars, as well as meeting the city parking requirements. At the time that the street grid and alleys were platted, a 24-foot vehicular backup was not required, so the 10-foot alley is in conflict with the space needed. To heal the lost historic pattern of the district and to provide more green space and less paving, we are using private land to allow public easement and rebuilding the alley at our expense for public use. All we need water. Now I'm finished if there are questions. Yeah. Excuse me.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. So for request C, the variance that was submitted into the record, you are to review the practical difficulties of the request with the verbiage that was included into the record this morning and the unique and singular nature of this request to see if it meets the variance criteria. We do have Mr. Marsh here. We're focusing on building C, the setback variance reduction that's here. We also have some public comment, I believe, as well. Along that line, we do have some letters that were submitted into the record. The letters that were submitted into the record is for the project in totality. They should be submitted into each different request that's coming forward. There was a form letter in there, and they signed the form letter that doesn't relate to some of this, at certain aspects of it. One of it talks about a rezoning here, and we're not talking about rezoning, so disregard those. But everything that talks about BLC 24-54, that's the discussion that should take place this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Vila, before you go, you said you just want to deal with Block C, Project C right now, and not D?
We need to take them one at a time,
For a
because
separate
one might
motion.
be approved and
For a
one
separate
might.
motion, but I think
Yes.
they're related, so can we
Well,
discuss both?
if you wish to see them together, so you could understand that the completeness, because they do address the alley, that's fine. So if she's ready to go forward with that, I think we can, and then separate motions, please.
Okay. Can we put back on the other site plan with the variance, so we can understand, have that for reference? Yes, thank you. Okay, anyone here from the public wishing to comment on this case? Please identify yourself.
James Wilson.
Come on up to the microphone, identify yourself on the microphone.
Oh, it's my turn to come up? Or
Yes,
just
sir.
now? Oh, okay. Hi, I'm James Wilson, JamesWilson. I live at 2224 East 11th Avenue. My house that I bought beginning in 2008 is on that city block. It's just my structure in the automotive detail shop, so I'm most impacted. They're gonna be building. So, okay, so my comment is, I support it, completely support it. I've met Michael Mintzberg and Ron, and so I've been involved in helping design it. Just, you know, I live right there. I'm most impacted myself, my house. And I have a 5-bedroom, 2 full bath house. So my only opinion is the sidewalk on 12th Avenue, Ron, maybe the sidewalk could be either up against the curb or the front of the house, so that there's a larger solid green area instead of it split in the middle by the sidewalk. And then on these windows, the middle black X, I mean, it occurred to me when I was sitting there that I'm looking at these windows, I don't see a dividing X in front of each of the glass. maybe just on the front of the building that faces 11th Avenue can be considered. Yes, I mean, I don't know, is that appropriate at this point in this process?
Sure, it's your public comment.
Okay, that's it. I live there, I'm here with a couple neighbors, so we support East Ybor Civic Association. I've talked to 10 to 15 neighbors directly across the street, those 3 little houses, Renee had built those, and Pat Torrance, he's the manager of eborvilla.com, eborhouse.com, which I've been involved with that for 20 years. So I do the vintage historical restoration in a national historical walking landmark district. So I'm here to support the neighborhood. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Anyone else here from the public wishing to comment? Mr. Connell?
Good morning. Jose Cayon, 2402 East 11th Avenue. I wanted to come in support of this project. I've been in Ybor for about 12 years, community leader, former president of the Neighborhood Association in East Ybor. Currently a board member as well. I'm pretty close where I live to this project. It's very near to my heart. This is where my family resides. I'm on 11th Avenue and 24th Street. When I first bought my first house in Ybor about 12 years ago, this area was literally no man's land. It was deeply in the gutter. It was distressed. Most of the houses were empty, boarded up, drug dealing, prostitution, you name it. And not only in the city officials, I found the support that we needed, but also in the private sector with the developers. And I honestly think that we couldn't find a better developer for this type of infill project than Michael Minsberg and Site Development. They were instrumental to bringing back the life in East Ybor with the restoration of the houses on 12th Avenue and the flats on 12th Avenue as well, very close to this area. And not only by providing a product that is sensitive to the historic area, but also they're very sensitive to the people, which is really what makes Ybor City unique. Not only the buildings, but the people. And ever since they conceived this project, they've been in touch with the community, with the association. They already did a presentation in front of the community that was very well attended. That's where most of those letters came from. People were very excited. It's probably one of the meetings that we've had the highest concentration of residents. I think the residents in East Ybor understand that we're a residential community and we need the infill. There are about 300 empty lots in Ybor, and for us to come back to being a vibrant area that we once were, we need this type of development. I don't think we could ask for a better developer than Site Development. They understand the sensitivity of the historic fabric, the needs of the residents. And so I'm 100% in support, and I ask you to approve the project as it is, because I feel like from the little knowledge I have of historic development on the houses I've developed, it's what it fits the community. So thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? We're reviewing the variance right now, so if you have public comment on the variance, I'd say we'd welcome that. If there's public comment for the project in general, we could do that during the CA process if everyone's okay with that. But it's your public comment, so you could do what you would.
My name is Richard Cooper. I've lived in the same neighborhood as my neighbors here for 15 years. I really just came here to support them, in support of their project, because that's what they want to support. And I don't see an objection. It appears to be aesthetic for me. I live across the street from it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment? Please come to the mic. Seeing none, we'll move on. So we'll ask some questions of the applicant. Mr. Nguyen, I think it's your turn.
Yep.
Looks like you're ready.
So, could you just bring back the site plan with the variances? So, with the alley, I believe, are you closing off the alley on the west side of the block there?
Well, we are showing that as green. We are happy to pave it, but felt that it is not something transportation wants to do, to access directly from 22nd Street. the alley, it's just, it's 10 feet wide and the traffic's fast, so we're providing the opening and we'll pave it if that's what is desired, but we are accessing, we're not providing vehicular access here, we're providing it through this driveway.
And so you say, you're looking to, not to pave it, so what's the current condition of the alley at the moment? Is there any paving in there at the moment or anything like that?
And
I'm the
I'll-
applicant, do you mind if I haven't been sworn
Yeah,
in?
yeah, it's fine.
Alexis?
Please raise your right hand for me. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be providing today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Michael Minsberg, the principal at Site Development. Excited to be here this morning. I just wanted to help out Stephanie to kind of answer this question, and she did a fabulous job, thank you. So the current alley is just unpaved, unimproved completely. Really what we're doing here, I mean, in my opinion, this is really like a technicality. We're using part of the public alley, which is currently unimproved, and using it to be included in part of our 24-foot backup space. So to answer your question, when we looked at this and we've communicated with transportation, to have the exit come out directly onto 22nd Street would be a hazard. So we've taken really more of our property to improve it behind Building Alpha. It turns up to the north there, and you've got 24 feet wide, so you have a two-way road, so people can exit onto 12th, and of course, yeah, down to 23rd. So it's a little safer condition for the vehicular access and for the pedestrians to use it. And this is, it's just to give a little background, each one of these are going to be platted as their own individual lot. So all of the paved area will be common area within the association, besides, of course, the City of Tampa alley. The rest is association land, which will be paved. You won't be able to tell where one switches to the other, and all of it becomes a public use easement for anybody to use.
And so then in terms of traffic flow through the site, are we entering on 23rd or on 12th? And this alley, I'm assuming it's just gonna be one way then at this point? Being just 10 feet wide, or?
And that way, and exit that way. Well, I'm sorry, the plan is to exit, we have two-way traffic, exit, enter here, and then exit only this way.
On 23rd,
So it would be
okay.
one way to the east.
Alley's gonna be one way, all right.
Yeah, well, the alley's two ways, just, you can only exit on 23rd, but you could
You could still go out
you
the
can't
other side.
enter on 23rd, but
Okay.
the 24 feet allows two-way. I mean,
Yes,
you're
right.
not gonna have a lot of
A lot of
traffic here.
a lot of cars,
26, 27 with James, who will who can use it.
Okay, thank you. And I think I have some, a question or two for Mr. Marsh then as well. And so then the first question is just for the 24-foot vehicular back out distance. That's just the safety distance to kind of for a vehicle to back out. And generally
Yes, yeah, I've been here
as you-
before for the 24 feet.
Yeah.
I think the agent, you did a good job, No,
Yeah.
because I was prepared to have to jump in, and I think she explained it pretty well. The only reason we're here for this is because they're crossing into public right-of-way. If this was a private development, or if the alley was vacated and under the same ownership, they could do the 24 feet, have the two garages 24 feet apart.
Okay.
I could argue all day about whether that's a good practice, but that's what's going on. The fact that they're going across, and I believe these may be fee simple at some point, we were saying then if you pass this, because we argued with the engineer who was like, oh, okay. You need the cross-access agreement to let the other the opposite property owner know that the person across from you may be maneuvering on your private property, and that you can't just leave a bunch of stuff out there because it's probably, the F-150 is probably gonna bash it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so that's really in a nutshell, is the fact that you have this unusual condition. There's still some tweaking, I think, with the alley that will probably go on between my department, mobility, and the developer as to, drainage and the level of what we call improvement. There probably needs to be a cross-access agreement for doing that dog leg up to the other part. But everything else, it seems correct. From what my understanding was, is that if you grant the waivers, then I don't have any objections to the rest for these two buildings.
Okay. And then, in terms of the alley itself, does transportation have an opinion on whether it should or should not exit out onto North 22nd, or?
I believe the engineer had a discussion where he would prefer it not to be.
Okay. All right.
That was not my original understanding. I wasn't part of that conversation, but that is what I was told secondhand.
All right, great, thank you. Those are my questions.
I have none.
Where are you guys showing city services like trash and recycling and all that other stuff? Is it gonna be in the alleyway, or do we need to bring it to the front?
The trash?
Yeah,
Trash will be kept in the garages and will be brought out, providing sidewalks for them to be brought out to the street. These, we have sidewalks here for these guys. They can walk through the drives, so it will all be picked up on the street,
got it.
kept in the garages.
So if I live in the middle, there's 2, 4, 6. If I live in number 3 or 4, then I have to exit, pick which one I want to go, and then bring it all the way to the front.
Yes, you can go right or left. I'm not sure if he's talking about Delta or Charlie, but
Yeah, and then so how much space is it from the alleyway to the back of the garage? Is it 4 feet or 6 feet
from the alley,
from the north boundary?
yeah,
Yeah, so from the right there all the way to
4
to
feet.
the first line. 4 feet.
4 feet. The setback is 3 feet. We're just inside of that, so 4 feet, and the 10-foot alley. So technically, we have a 14-foot backup according to the,
Right. The only reason why I ask is because we have seen the increased use of golf carts. So like if somebody wanted, if a golf cart fits there and they wanted to put it there, but then that space needs to be.
They could not, because that is not, so, as Mr. Marshall was talking about, these will be fee simple, but the land behind them is gonna be homeowners association owned with the cross-access easement. So it'd just be like illegally parking anywhere else,
Got it.
they'd be towed, fined, they're not allowed to park there.
Was that a clear question or?
No, they're just not gonna be able to park anything back there. They're
Okay.
gonna have an HOA agreement that says you can't park back there because that's maneuvering space. They're
Yeah.
using part of their private property and part of the alley.
Right.
But, and I think 4 feet on the Charlie side and then,
Yeah,
10 feet on the.
10 on the,
10
Yeah,
Delta.
to be clear,
Right.
those units in Charlie will not own that 4 feet behind them.
They won't, okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
owned by the homeowners association
Got it.
as a whole.
And then if they're like me and they have a lot of junk in their garage and prefer to park their car on the street, is there enough space? Like if they have visitors or something, like on 12, for example, is there enough space to park cars out there, or is
There is street parking there now that is, not often used because it's vacant land.
Right.
But that not contemplated in our overall design.
Got it. Yeah, those are for me.
Okay, I have a couple questions. So if we're starting behind building Alpha, you have a 24-foot backup distance, right? And then that's your private property. There's no alley, there's no platted alley there, right? And then you're gonna make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn, whichever way you're gonna go, onto the alley in that 24, whatever, it's kind of what's the reason for that westernmost unit to be inset off the other? Is that because of the turn radius that's required there?
we need it's that as well as the 24 feet that we need at this point, right here at this corner,
That land we don't control.
Yeah, this corner we don't control, so we have to have our clearance, to that
That
point.
doesn't fit within that line of just having 24 feet straight back? Because you're asking for a 4-foot variance on the rest of the units there. I guess where I'm going with this, and let me stay on building Alpha for right now. I see, are those AC units in that 24-foot backup distance?
There are AC units and the backup distance is clear of the AC units. You still have the backup space, but
It's
the
not a
drive
full, it's
aisle
not a
is 20 feet.
full-length garage door, it's like a single parking?
It's a single car.
Yeah.
Single car,
Yeah.
okay. And, all right. So I guess my concern here is why that first unit on the western is set in, then the other 4 units, 5 units, 6 units to the next building there are at one level, and then you got 3 back there on Charlie East that are another distance. I think what you're trying to do is to, well, why don't you explain it to me? Because I think an easier solution, a more elegant solution would have your 10-foot alley and have 8 foot on, or 7 foot on each side,
Sure, yeah.
right?
So what we're
Then
trying to do is
everyone gets the same size
what we're trying to do
courtyard.
is maximize green space, and meet the 24-foot backup requirement. Like, I think, you know, and I think from here, from this arrow, it looks kind of weird. I don't think anyone, once they're walking down there, but, you know, Mr. Wilson's property there, we're not gonna use any of his property. It's all, so the 14 feet on the eastern half of the block are all on our property. If we did that, you know, coming all the way across here, it would just have more
Can you
paving.
point to where you're describing? I know you're kind of pointing somewhere, and I'm just trying
Oh,
to.
sorry.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank
so here is Mr. Wilson's
Yes.
property here. So we just, we're using none of his property, like I said, so we have 14 feet on this side of the property, which make these courtyards just pretty tight and small. So the reasoning was just to, you know, extend some green space on this side and make it so we could have more green space and meet the turn requirements and the backup requirements for all of it.
These, I would tell you that if I could, these 3 units over here have 6 foot wide, deep courtyards. We'd rather not build them at all, and we may not with this tight. When we, excuse me, when we push all these units up to get the clearance that we need, we end up with about that same amount all the way down. So he would not build those courtyards at 6 feet thick.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your argument for the east building, having that 1 unit down, because you know, starting from the east, you need the full 24 feet, right? So those courtyards are set, but it's like from there on, everywhere else, it's like you kind of split the difference between the 2. And then you kind of, for building Delta, right, you can back that up, use a 10-foot alley, then another 7 foot on each side, and then everyone gets bigger courtyards, right?
Well, Rich, this has a setback. The garages of Delta are on the setback line. This has a 10-foot setback at the alley. This property, the front is on 23rd.
Okay,
So the setback there is only 3 feet. That's a side yard setback. So I understand where you're going, but just we can't move these garages on Delta.
okay.
Yeah, that was, when we went through this with zoning and staff, the side yard, front yards, all that are a lot more complicated than we expected.
All right, okay.
Creating set-
So on Charlie East, where's the entry? Then it's gonna be on the side, not the front? Because you kind of show a stoop up there on the front.
There are four units in Charlie, so they all have entries on 12th Avenue. The one on the corner has an additional entry lining up with 12th that's coming down this way.
So is that like your front yard on that side?
It is the
It is
front yard, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so if we would have moved the garages anywhere, we'd have another variance we'd be requesting.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to follow the
Yeah.
logic here and, yeah, I don't,
It's a
okay.
jigsaw puzzle.
It just, yeah, I guess. But you don't have, so you have a 10-foot setback on Delta, but you don't have that same setback on Charlie.
We have a 3-foot setback.
Why the difference? Is that, it's the same use, right?
It's a side yard. The city officials determined that this was the front of the lot, because the lot is,
Got
you
it.
know, in this shape. So, it required 3 feet on the side. These were side yard setbacks, 3 feet. This one, you'll see, has a 10, and the sides are here.
So your front, okay. Well, that makes more sense now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that explains that.
I know if we ask enough questions, we get there.
And
Okay,
sorry, we forget to tell you the process we've been
Okay.
through.
So, so that probably contributes to why you have some green space up front on Charlie East. Pedestrian, you need to separate the two buildings, I guess. Is that a requirement? Is there a particular reason for that pedestrian access, or?
Well, that was an evolution of, in working with the staff on the massing of the Charlie building.
Okay. Okay, and this has been reviewed by the city, so they're good with all the turn radius. I mean, you're not really seeing, you guys are gonna kind of shape it a little bit around
Yes,
the
of
corner
course,
and
yes.
everything. Curb cuts, okay, all right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, you have a few minutes if you want to summarize your comments or offer any rebuttal, and then we'll look at the variance for Block C.
I don't have any comments.
Okay, okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. Any further discussion of the commissioners amongst ourselves? Mr. Torres?
I can well imagine that this must have been some quite gymnastics getting to the point where you are, and it's probably as sensitive a result as one could get in that circumstance, short of single-family houses over there.
Yeah, I think that's it. Now that we understand why that's happening like that, it bothered me that everything's a hodgepodge. You do such a nice job on the perimeter and of all sides of all the blocks of maintaining the street edge. But I think we have to realize here that the alley is also a street edge here, and that's a public front on how your residents are gonna view that. I'd like to see it a little bit more linear, you know, and aligned, and I was thinking that would kind of help out with your courtyard and get more green space in there as well, but now I understand why you guys have done that, so.
Nope, I fully agree. I think the applicant has done a good job in trying to navigate and trying to meet the requirements of transportation, but in doing so in a creative way that can, you know, make the project the best project it can, given the site conditions.
Okay, so we're ready for a motion, I guess. So we're gonna start off with variance for Block C, which is a vehicular backout reduction from 24 feet to 14 feet.
All right.
Motion.
So this is just a variance, right? So we're not getting into anything like paving of the alleyway or any of that stuff, right? So we can, so there are no conditions we have either, right? So we can do approval without conditions for this variance. So move that the variance request for case BLC 24-0000054 C for the property located at the northeast corner of 22nd Street and 12th Avenue, south side, oh wait, no, actually, sorry, scrap that. So for the property located at south side of the block abutting building A to the west and 23rd Street to the east, to be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a vehicular backout reduction from 24 feet to 14 feet. Per the city chapter 27-283.12 H2B, be granted with the be granted based on the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in chapter 27, section 27-96D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances for granting variances as stated and the evidence provided in this public hearing. Specifically that the applicant meets the 6 hardship criteria, and if the variance granted will be consistent with the design standards of the Ybor City guidelines.
Second.
Okay, I'd like it written into the record, the addresses, 2207, 2209, 2211, 2215, and 2217 East 12th Avenue.
Oh, we go.
if that's a friendly amendment.
Yeah, that's a great amendment.
Well, yeah, because I think you missed A and C. I think you just said C.
Well, we're just
Well,
doing C
so
right now.
we
We're doing C. We're bringing it up. We're
are-
bringing it up, right?
it's
Yeah.
only
So I just
building
saw a property location down there. That's good. Yep.
Okay, friendly amendment, you good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Variance is granted. Okay. For C, yep.
Now we need to do a separate
For
motion
D.
for A. For D or A?
Now we need D.
For D. Oh, D on the other side. Okay. Yep. So now D
Building A
is.
doesn't have
Well,
Okay.
that,
a variance.
Yeah.
that record is A and C.
So moved that the variance request for case BLC 24-0000054D for the property located at 2210, 2214, 2216, 2220, 2220 rear East 11th Ave be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a vehicular backout reduction from 24 feet to 20 feet per chapter 27-283.12 H2B. Based on the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in Chapter 27, Section 27-96D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances for granting variances as stated and the evidence provided in this public hearing, specifically that the applicant meets the 6 hardship criteria and that the applicant is looking to conform to the Ybor City Design Guidelines.
Second.
Okay. Any question, discussion? All in favor of said
Say that.
variance motion for block D, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Variance is granted. Okay, so now that we're done with the variance, we're gonna move forward into the certificate of appropriateness.
Final, and you gotta nail it to get it.
Yeah.
And Mike,
Commissioners, in moving forward, I'd like to go back to the overall vicinity map. Obviously, this is the Sanborn map, but this is the illustration. So we're coming forward with 4 certificate of appropriateness. We have A, B, C, and D. A, B, and D, all on the staff report, reflect that they have enough information when we reviewed it at the time they submitted everything to move forward with a final. Building C was very fluid. It was in flux, and that one we put down on the staff report that it has enough for preliminary approval, and then they were working as of yesterday to finalize their drawings, and hopefully they have enough for your review for final. But for the ease of their presentation coming forward, and speaking with their team, they want to start with Building A, that's on the corner of 22nd Street and 12th Avenue, and then go to B, then go to D. We're going to need separate motions on all these. I'll be here to facilitate that for you, but we're going to focus on their certificate of appropriateness for Building A, which is Alpha at this time.
Mr. Vila, when does C come into that process?
C will be the last one. We're going to look at 4 this morning. So A, B, and D, as I stated, they had enough information. We felt comfortable administratively, given the staff report with some conditions for final approval.
But we're gonna present everything all at once?
We're going to do one at a time.
One at a time.
One at a time. There's enough information that you'll see that one at a time
Yeah, yeah.
is sufficient.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
no, it's just talk.
Good morning again, Christian. Thank you for having us this morning. Before we get into all of the buildings, I just wanted to do a brief introduction on the project as a whole. As you can see, there's several moving parts here, and we're really excited about it. First, I just want to make sure I thank staff before I forget. We've been working on this with them since November of last year, to really have a good presentation to come in front of you all. And even recently, they've made time over the last couple months to meet with us once a week, and I know they're busy, so I just want to thank them for that publicly. And we worked hard and we got it reduced down to those 2 waivers that you saw. We've had the privilege, we're Ybor-based development company, we've had the privilege of being a small part of repairing, the urban fabric of Ybor City that was destroyed during urban renewal. We've been specifically active in East Ybor, and as you can see, we've built some relationships along the way, which is part of the fun of doing business there. We've done projects in East Ybor, both big and small. We were part of the Lecter 85 project on the southeast corner, which brought about 240 apartments to the district. And then, as Jose mentioned, we did 4 homes that were renovations that were moved during the highway expansion. So we like to think all of our projects are big in character. Some are big in size, some are small in size. Our mission at site is to execute creative development strategies inspired by local culture and create value for the surrounding community. We work with Ybor-based Grow, who really understands the community, the historic district, and what's best for it, and have their own creative abilities. And then we've been very proactive meeting with the community. We've met with several homeowners one-on-one multiple times, especially with James, who's been great because he's the only homeowner on that block and the only historic structure. And so we really feel like we've got all shareholders' input here. And, this is a very, very important thoroughfare on 22nd and how it moves into the residential, really, core of the district to the east. So we really like to look at the past, the present, and the future when we were planning this project, because there are some very unique characteristics with the interstate directly to the north, McDonald's and Burger King. So what we really tried to do as a whole was make sure that we had that 22nd Street corridor really paid it its respect it should, and we've got some 3-story structures there that really buffer into the residential area and start to scale down. So just before we kind of focus in on each building, I wanted to give you all that thought and plan, and reduce scale and kind of soften the textures as we get moving east. I don't think anywhere else in Tampa will you see a 26-unit project with 5 distinct facades, which I think is really pays just homage and gives Ybor City the attention it deserves into the future. So again, I want to thank staff for working on us since November. We really hope to get approval here. We want to get started on permitting and get moving as soon as possible. But we really appreciate all the time and energy that's going into this. Thank you.
Switch over.
You ready to go?
I am.
Think so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning again. I'm glad that Michael took some of my time so I can talk less. Yeah, and I'm glad he mentioned, because I meant to mention the idea that there are 26 single-family homes going into this project, into the overall, what we're showing you today, not to mention what will come forward later with. So we're talking about the Alpha building. And for each of our different buildings, we've got different references. This is, the Alpha building is a 3-story residential building. There are 5 units in it, and it's on 22nd Street. These are some of the images that we collected for reference, for inspiration. There are very few 3-story buildings on 7th, but there are a couple. This one, this is a new construction. These buildings were actually on 22nd and are no longer there. Most of the buildings obviously are on 7th Avenue. And we have chosen buildings that have simple, this is actually Columbia's original building, which is hard to believe that that's where it started, but simple details. They can be very elaborate, some of the buildings, some of the parapet details, but we chose the more simple ones to guide our project. This one is a one-story that has a stepped. And then we zoomed into here's the site on the Sanborn, but I zoomed into a couple of spots on the Sanborn map to show the orientation of the buildings. This building, you'll see this kind of footprint on our A and B buildings, where the building is up to the street. There is a covered walkway along the street. Same thing about this one is a little bit smaller, but this takes up goes to the alley, from the alley to the street, and a similar little area over on this side with similar things. There's some of these buildings have wraparound porches, some don't, some just have them facing the one street. Okay. We're going to zoom in back. This is the overall again. Now, I will tell you that we have two separate buildings, A and B, or alpha and beta. They have very similar qualities, characteristics. So I'm going to give you an alpha and a beta presentation, but just keep in mind when you're watching alpha that many things apply to beta. Okay, so we have pulled the building up. Let me see if I have a detailed site plan. Yeah, there's a closer one. We pulled the building up to the back of the sidewalk, which is the property line, as close as we felt comfortable. There used to be a 46-foot from the center line of 22nd to the front of the structures. There used to be a special street setback here. Well, that was done away with when the city took control over 22nd. But we've pulled our building back 6 feet just to give us a little bit of a green buffer. We are planning on using very simple landscaping, low, real sod, low shrubbery, and some trees along the way, and sidewalks that go to each individual entry, with a shared 6 foot deep walkway in front of the units. The garages all enter off of the driveway in the back. There are 1.5 cars, so you can fit a car and some tools or bikes or a golf cart maybe in there. Let me see, I think that's about, the air conditioning units are on the ground here. This is a 3-story structure. The first floor plan rotated, this 22nd being down at the bottom of the page. The first floor is the garage on the back side and a home office design on the front, which could also double as a guest suite. It has a full bath and closet, and access is along this shared walkway. These we're showing as storefront windows here, which we'll show you in the details. The second level is the living level, dining, kitchen, and living with access to that front porch, front balcony. And the third level is the sleeping level, so there's 2 bedrooms and, again, access to the third level of balcony. And I think that this would be the first 3-story balcony in a while? Or do we just have one recently? I don't know. There's not very many of them left. Anyway, roof plan, it's just there'll be a parapet, flat roof, nothing on the roof in this case, no terraces, no equipment. And this is the street facade. Now, this is where the buildings start to differ in what they look like. All the plan work is identical. This building is furthest away from the heart of Ybor, so we wanted to do a more modern interpretation. So the details are very simple. There are 1/1 single hung windows. We do have the storefront detail at the base of the building. The balcony has column supports for 2 floors, and the 3rd floor is covered with a aluminum pre-hung awning. Just a little close-up detail, we've located the mailboxes and the addresses and a little canister light that will be on the side, above that. The doors are clear glass, and the building is primarily stucco. A little bit of detail banding at the water table. The height of the building is below, it's 33.8 to the top of the roof truss. The total maximum building height is allowed is 35. On the side views, we have additional windows for those end units. And here you can see this two-story balcony with the awning above. We have on the south-facing end, area designated for signage. We hope to have some fun with some signage there, but it's, not detailed for you yet. And the band goes around the back of the building. All the metal work is black, including the flashing cap at the top of the building. The rear is very simple. Again, single hung windows in the back with no mullions, no dividers, 1/1. Single car garages, the AC units, which will be shielded with that low landscaping that we'll place along the edges. Section through with 22nd on the left-hand side. This is the 6-foot balcony. This is the 6-foot distance between the property line and the back of the public sidewalk. So that's the relationship to the street. And again, you'll see where it's all masonry construction, so we'll end up with deep recesses for our windows and doors. These awnings will be on stationary rods. We've got aluminum picket rails, but all fairly simple details. This is the wall section, which blows up all of the details that we felt were important to show you. The typical window placement with at least a 3-inch recess with precast sills. We have some foam molding that occurs at the water table, the details of the railing, the details of the aluminum awnings. Let me see, I'm having a hard time, these are pretty small for me. There's something here that's 12 inches that I wanted to, I don't know that that's anything important. Details through the storefront. I keep thinking I can zoom in, but. Okay, and these are the finishes for that building. Again, stucco finishes with a maybe a little bit darker beige on the base. The balconies with all metal round poles and railings, our gutters and downspouts, the cap on our walls there, lights, fixtures, and mailboxes, the typical aluminum canopy at the top of the building, garage doors. This is a strange photograph of, it's actually the new Burns building that's more hotel space there, south of their mural in that area, and they have those fixed panels there. That's what we tried to show you that we're doing. We're having windows with a fixed panel above and below. And that's just a rendering of the building, looking kind of from the south. Now, that completes the presentation for Alpha. If you'd like for me to go on with Beta, that's fine, I can stop here.
Commissioners, good morning. Ron Veal, I'm staff for Historic Preservation. I think if we take them in segments, it'd be a little easier. So let's focus once again. We're looking at Building A. It's on the corner of 12th Avenue and 22nd Street. Remember, this is a one-way street heading north. So as you look at your staff report, this is one parcel as indicated through the presentation. That's why the staff report addresses Building A and Building C. I broke them up into different segments. We're going to start with Building A on page 4. We're going to start with the site. We had many meetings to get to this level of completeness. We always start with new construction with historic reference, and within that, the scale and massing with the building that's illustrated. Then we look for setbacks and elevation from grade. The inspiration that they come forward with, whatever their reference is, we ask for them to stay within that model, within the vocabulary, within that model, so it's not a Frankenstein as they're moving forward. So I believe she showed referencing for the scale and massing within the district. And then as I entered the photo presentation about an hour ago, we talked about the streetscape along 22nd is different than along 12th Avenue. So I believe she has different illustrations to strengthen the presentation this morning. The final mechanical location, it was vacillating for a while. She showed it on a grade. It's on the site plan. Moving to the elevations, the storefront was also in discussion for many times. She has a period storefront, although this is a modern interpretation with the material selection. This is a stucco. The cap just comes along. There's no parapet in undulation you'll see in the next request. But the storefront had the lower base, the bulkhead, then it had the display area, and the display area had a void in there early on. Now there's 3 segments that are clear glass going across, and then above that is a transom. So that's the trilogy that is usually in a traditional storefront. The transom is solid up front. They left that as it was illustrated earlier, but the storefront is now all transparent, where before it was not. We thought that this was one place, as I indicated many times, that 22nd is a one-way street. It's very difficult to get some signage integrated that is successful. On that southern exposure, she's going to have a view on that first floor to incorporate signage. At this point, they're indicating the size and the location. That should be sufficient, and then we'll work on it administratively as it gets developed. That concludes the items that staff had for the conditions for just Building A, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vila. Anyone here from the public wishing to comment on the case? Seeing none.
It looked like Mr. Wilson wanted to, he raised his hand.
Now's the time. Yep.
Support me and all my constituents and neighbors and friends. So, yeah, we all support. It's great. It's wonderful what they did.
Brief and to the point. I like it. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Okay, we're going to ask some questions of the applicant. Mr. Torres, you're at the hot mic, so you're up.
Thank you. Can you go back to the finishes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oops.
Thank you. On 14, the garage, are those for the back or the front? Those lights, is that 14? 14.
Oh, the 14 is showing the type of simple garage doors that we're using. The lights there, though, you can never put it all together. But the lights we have are not that kind of light.
Okay.
We have a down light at the top of the door.
Okay. And then for the number 7, that's the stopping cap. What is Is that for the roof portion? Is that it? Am I
This, number 7?
number 7? Yeah.
Number 7 is there is a small parapet on the building, so that is the parapet cap flashing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't see. I don't think I have anything else. No.
Could you clarify please, the panel insert on the first floor? Are all of the glazing panels there on the storefront clear?
All of the,
no. I
when,
see
these that are shown are clear, the 3 that
Right.
Ron mentioned, yeah. And then we have solid panels, maybe it's probably a hardy board kind of a finish there, some inches,
At the bottom.
at the bottom and the top.
But Ron said the transom at the top was now clear.
I don't think he said that, but I think what we had originally, Vivian, was this centerpiece, center window in all of these sets was not clear. It was opaque, and then we made those clear. But the transoms are still shown as solid.
Oh, okay. So Ron, are you withdrawing that comment from the conditions list for provide clear transom windows?
The reference that they showed, as I talked about, the trilogy with the bulkhead is usually solid, and then you have your display windows, and the transoms are usually clear. This is more of a contemporary request towards a period building. I think there's some flexibility in that, as, you know, a discussion that the board should have. But in the earlier illustrations that we looked at, this component here was solid and looked a little foreign. So I think it still reads as the 3 units on the storefront.
Okay. There was no comment regarding the material solution for the alley surface. Is that just all concrete? What will that be?
Right now, all the paving on the property is conceived to be asphalt.
Asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was it.
So with the storefront and the rest of the glazing, is all the glazing going to be the same color and, you know, opacity throughout the entire project?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Let's see. And so then you showed some downlights next to the doors. Are there any lights on the balconies or underneath the canopy or anything like that for?
Yes, let me see. It's hard to see, but we have surface mounted cans.
Okay, so there'll be cans. All
That are
right.
here, yeah, and there's a cut sheet. Oh, we have to switch the,
I don't need a cut sheet if it's,
Yeah,
if it's inside the balcony or, you know, the canopy overhead, and, you know, you just see kind of the ring, the border underneath, so not really too much to see. All right. Oh, so are they surface mounted then? All right. I said, and finally with the canopy itself as well, it looks like it's solid, so is it an integral gutter system? Is it gonna have the gutters on the sides that have to go down, or is it kind of returns back to the roof? Is it somehow internal drainage in the wall?
I don't believe though, Michael, do you know? I don't believe these are built with gutters, they just,
Oh, so they actually just slope towards the
It
front of the balcony?
does slope, yeah.
It slopes to the front, not towards the back?
that's right, of
Okay.
course, yeah.
Okay.
Slightly.
Let's see, and then finally, you mentioned that there would be a hedge for the AC units in the back, in one of the sections. It looks like it's gonna be a little tight on space, so I just wanted to kind of talk through that a
We
little bit.
do not have L drawings, but we definitely will abide by city minimum requirements, and we've already spoken to, I'm going back to the site plan. We've already spoken to Ron about, you know, what those materials are, just a low hedge, which is probably what we'll put here, and
Okay.
then we could put a cluster of little palms or something just to
Just
conceal
around
that.
those. Okay, so you're not actually returning that hedge around to like the east face of the building to kind of enclose the whole AC unit or anything like that, or
No,
screen it?
no.
Okay, I was just curious about that. All right. I believe those are my questions.
Okay. So you commented that everything's gonna be asphalt, and I see that there. What's the alley gonna be there? I'm kinda jumping to a different project, but
Alley is also conceived to be asphalt at this
asphalt,
point.
you've worked through that with the city, and they're okay with that? So
Well,
there's
yes,
certain
it will-
standards?
and certainly will meet their requirements, yeah.
Okay, so I think it might end up being concrete, but it might be just change materials there. When we looked at the section, I was kind of concerned, what's your finished floor there? You're not, it seems like it's almost slab on grade, you're not raising it up to get it, I think part of my concern would be like the traffic on 22nd with some flooding or water and having that be too low, but that's really slab on grade with a recessed slab in the garage. You're not really raising it up too much.
Well, we have to set it at 18 inches above the crown of the road. We just
Right.
don't have that information yet. The intent is for it to look like it's on grade, because that's what is called for, in this vernacular.
Okay.
But we will be careful to make sure that there's not a flooding problem, yeah.
Yeah, I think that street, not a real flooding problem there, but, okay, I just wanted to make sure on that one. All asphalt. Your party walls, are they like CMU? Or
They
are
are,
frame?
they
Okay.
are. All,
Okay,
the
so-
construction is fully CMU walls and wood frame floors and roof.
But the CMU doesn't go through the roof?
No,
Okay, so you're gonna stop that. Okay, all your windows, doors,
we have a window.
storefront, everything's gonna be aluminum?
Aluminum,
No
yeah.
vinyl, no anything like that?
No,
Okay.
no vinyl. We have a window we've used before that's been approved by the board that has substantial dimension that we'd
Okay.
like to
It
try to
looks
use
like,
again.
from your details, it looks like all your storefront, everything's gonna be center of block or set back.
Yes.
So we're gonna have that depth there.
Right.
And all your glass is gonna be clear?
Yes.
Okay, and, yeah, I don't have any other questions on that one. Sure.
There is a natural slope on 22nd, or in that section, it doesn't change or I guess affect the way that you interact with the sidewalk? Is it all flat from the first unit to the last unit? Are they on the same plane? Like there's no?
Oh, I actually don't know the grades across 22nd Street. I don't know, but I'm sure that we will match that as we're coming down.
Right. So one is going to have a step, and the other one probably won't have a step. I'm assuming.
Well, I'm hoping that we can just marry it as it flows down. If it's, I'm assuming to the south, that
Right.
we should be able to change the grade along the building so that it does the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, that was it.
Any other questions? No? Okay,
Just one more item.
Sure.
I want to put on the record before you move towards a motion. The site paving was traditionally concrete. The walkways, the driveways, and the sidewalks were concrete. In the past, working with transportation to bring up the alleys to standards, asphalt's been approved and concrete's been approved. But what we look for is the totality of the alley from start to finish as one material. In the Ybor City district, we've had, different materials as different projects came forward. So one linear material for the alley, it could be concrete, but, that could be discussion as far as budget goes and things of that nature, or asphalt. But the other site hardscape issues should be concrete.
and you're referring to the drive aisle behind Building A?
That's correct. The transition from the alley to wherever it goes should be concrete.
The apron.
Yes. And the walkways, they have some walkways to the front stoops in this project and some of the other projects. And then any sidewalks, obviously, will be concrete to match. Those were always, I shouldn't say always, but majority of the time stamped with the cartouches in them as well, showing the dates and the manufacturer.
Okay.
For both 12 and 26, right? No, for both 12 and 23rd Street.
The walkways?
The
sidewalk.
the sidewalk.
All sidewalks concrete.
All sidewalks are concrete, yeah. And we certainly would agree to making the aprons concrete,
Concrete.
as he suggested.
There is no walking between that green space from 22nd to the alleyway.
There is no walking?
Yeah. yeah.
Well, right now, again, we're showing this as a green space. We just thought that might be more attractive, but keeping the opening. It may be required to be paved, I don't know, by anybody. If we're approving the alley, we're probably gonna have to improve the whole thing, right?
Currently, the alley runs east and west, as I stated, but there is no curb cut coming off at 22nd Street.
Right.
So there's really not access there, and by putting, the curb remaining up, and then the green visually stops the traffic from moving forward.
That's what they prefer.
Right.
I thought you meant a walkway.
Yeah, like a pedestrian walkway.
We can put a walkway in between the buildings, we probably would benefit, benefit everybody.
Okay. That was it for me. Now.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, you have a few minutes if you want to summarize anything of your presentation or rebut anything discussed.
Anything? Okay.
We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We can have discussion of the case in front of us. I'll start with Mr. Nguyen.
No, I think it's a nice project. They've shown their precedents that they've taken inspiration from, and it'll be a boon to the community as all the support that we've kind of seen has shown. And so, yeah, I'm happy to have them work with staff for the final details that we kind of talked about in terms of, hardscaping, adding that little sidewalk on to finish out that alleyway. I think that would be a nice little touch too, and any materials and balcony finishes and that type of stuff.
No comments.
Yeah, I really like it. Definitely touches on infill, density, and home ownership. I think those are three important things that we need for the district, especially East Seaboard.
Yeah, I like the design direction of where this went. It's a difficult street on 22nd. I think it's got a nice bookend. I like that it's a 3-story application there, and it's pulling in elements from the main district as a transition out to the East Ybor area. So, and I think the applicant has done a nice job with all the materials and everything, and a few things to kind of clean up with the paving materials, signage, and final finishes with staff. But besides that, I think the project's really in good shape.
So then we can do a final approval with conditions. So move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 24-0000054A for the property located at 2215 North 22nd Street, with the following conditions: that the applicant work with staff for final finishes, that the applicant provide a pedestrian walkway at the end of the alley on the west side, to the west of the vehicular traffic, and that the applicant work with staff for any final signage on the building. Any other conditions? Check. Because based on the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with Ybor design guidelines of the city of Tampa for the following reasons: that it meets the design criteria for new construction based on height and width, facade width, setback, spacing, alignment, similarity of details and forms, and building materials.
Second.
Okay. There's been a number of conditions placed on this application. As the applicant in agreement with these conditions?
Yep.
Okay, they have affirmed that they are in agreement with these conditions. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, ready to go to Beta? I put the site plan up again because this is just to remind you with the relationship, Beta is to the south. And it's the only project we're showing you on this southern block. But it is sited just like Building Alpha, and it is very much the same in all respects except for the exterior. So I'm just going to zip through these unless you ask me to have any questions. And so this is the elevation for the Beta building. In this case, We have extended the columns up to encapsulate the third floor and put a pitched roof, as you have seen, as can be seen in one of the references I showed you. I'll show you that again if you want. The facade of the building is brick. The client has an affinity for the white brick. He's using that in other projects. So it is white brick. It has a little bit of detailing up there at the top, those recessed brick areas, a stepped parapet, and signage at the top of the building. The windows in this case are 2/2 as opposed to 1/1 for the other one. And otherwise, the detailing is very similar, the same aspects. Sections. Again, we have an opportunity for signage facing south. This building is, one block south of the other. Same details in the rear. And the same relationship to the street, 6 feet. 6 feet for the porch, 6 feet for the space between the public sidewalk to the street. And there's that sloped roof you see here. And you can tell from the section the parapet is higher. And then the details are essentially all the same, except this says beta. This is weird. This detail, this wall section is not right.
That doesn't show the brick.
Yeah, it's weird. This is the wrong wall section it's very strange. Anyway, well, it's weird. It does it show brick? I don't think it shows brick. But it doesn't show the sloped roof, Michael. Not that it's your fault, I'm just saying. No, I'm not throwing him under the bus for sure. Throw myself under the bus before I throw Michael. But we are sloping the roof. I will just continue for now. The colors and materials are very similar, except we've got the white brick, black accents, corrugated metal roof over the porch, the balcony, and there you can see, I hope you can see the brick on the walls and the sloped roof. I apologize for that wall section being wrong. It's amazing. Well, it's not amazing that we made a couple of mistakes. Excuse me, that is the completion of the beta presentation. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff at Historic Preservations. We reviewed these drawings on May 8, 2024 and found it consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines. As you look at alpha and to beta, beta is more of a traditional application with the materials on the elevations, with the columns going all the way up with the sloped roof. So although one was a little more playful with the modern interpretation, this one was more period appropriate with the step parapet, the introduction of the sign board on the front elevation, and then the signage on the south side as well to be incorporated into the project. With these projects moving forward, the consistency with the historic fabric should be illustrated, which she provided. On this one, I put if there was any fencing, and throughout all the projects we talked about any fencing, they needed to show the location, and through further discussion, there was no fencing on any of the projects this time. At a later date, if the HOA wants to come forward and present fencing, then we could address that. But on the periphery, no fencing shown. The mechanicals on this one are going to be on the rooftop. They're not illustrated on the site plan. Early iterations of this, the front facade had only brick. They incorporated the brick to the other facades as well. So it's once again more of a traditional application. And then the final paint selection, they talked about the incorporation of the white brick, which can be. There's a position that preservationists take that you should never paint historic brick, But if this is new construction in the future, if they wanted to paint this brick, that's an option that they have. But once you paint the brick, it becomes a maintenance issue. So that's something they gotta think about as well. We just wanted that stronger cornice on this since it was more period appropriate, which they illustrated. And I believe all the other items have been addressed. So I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, anyone here from the public wishing to comment? Now is the time. Okay, seeing none, same comments, I assume. All right, we can ask questions of the applicant on this point.
Sure. And so, just going with the brick, when it turns the corner to the south there, does it just become a water table, and does it wrap around the east side as well? The east and north side is a water table, I'm assuming?
Yes, it wraps around the east and, I mean, the north and south. Does not,
Okay.
does not wrap around the east.
Backside, the rear
That's- yeah.
elevation, okay.
And it continues all the way up the building, 12 inches in. I'll see if I can find a illustration of that. Here we go. So this wraps around 12 inches and then wraps all the way around the building. And this wrap occurs 12 inches around the rear and then stops.
Okay.
And I want to correct Ron. The units, the AC units, again, are on, this building does not have access to the roof. And so the AC units are in the same place as on Alpha. They may not have shown that last time we put something in, but
Okay.
they are there, and we'll treat them the same way.
Got it. So, and then otherwise, same lighting fixtures throughout the building as well.
Yep,
And then I think similar comments, we just have concrete apron cut into the site as well, if it's gonna be paid for asphalt in the back. And I think that's most of my questions.
Makes this one easy.
Yep.
Well, and I just want to comment on the carefulness with which you are addressing Ron's concerns, addressing the guidelines of the district, and because it's essentially a commercial street, and these are residential buildings on a commercial street, they really have the feeling of being commercial as opposed to residential, and I applaud that.
thank you.
I have one question. Same question for trash and recycling. Is it gonna be on 22nd or?
No, it will probably be picked up on the North Street.
On
11th.
On 11th?
Yep, yep. Rolled out to the curb on trash day. There's 5 units in each of these buildings.
Thank you.
Okay.
And really the only difference here, everything's aluminum for storefront windows, doors, but you have a 2/2, right? For the
Yep.
window pattern everywhere. Okay. Clear glass everywhere, okay. And we clarified mechanical units on the ground. And I like the way that this is different but the same, kind of different detailing. And I think we just need to get with staff to make sure they update their details for the brick, storefront and everything, if you're a motion maker. Okay. Yeah.
He's doing such a good job.
I think we're done with questions. If you have a few moments, if you'd like to summarize or rebut anything, and we'll move on.
No, I do want to point out, though, that for clarity, we are using thin brick, but it is the type of brick with the corner pieces. We have red and white here. Yeah, so it will have all those built-in pieces so that it will appear as a full brick. And that's it.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. Any discussion of the case, starting with the commissioners?
Yeah, we're pretty much the same as the last one. It looks good.
Right, same comments as before.
Yep, pretty much. And then I just echo Rich, it's a nice play on the two buildings with each other. They're, they're kind of twinning, but just kind of different enough that, they kind of play off of each other.
Yeah, you're gonna be driving
Some
by there and
personality,
you're gonna be
yeah.
like, you know, having a glitch in the matrix. They're kind of the same, but they're both, very cool with their own distinctive,
Yeah.
features, so, very nice.
All right, then with that, we can do a final approval of the conditions. So move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 24-0000054B
Yeah.
for the property
Good.
located at 2113 and 2115 22nd Street with the following conditions: that the applicant work with staff for final finishes on the building, final signage on the building, and final site paving on the site as well. Because with the following,
Update the brick to brick details.
and update the brick details according to staff approved details. Because based on the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the E-Board City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons: that conforms to the design criteria for new construction based on height and width, facade width, setback, spacing, alignment, similar details and forms, and building materials.
Okay, there's been a number of, I need a second first.
Oh, second.
Okay. There's been a number of conditions placed on this application. Is the applicant okay with these conditions? No?
Yes.
Okay. The applicant acknowledges yes. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Anyone need a break, or we're gonna kind of vote it through? It's 11:10.
I'm fine. You
Keep going.
wait one more, and then we'll maybe break before Charlie, as Ron recommended. Okay. Okay, so now we're looking at Building D. Back to the site plan. These are 6 units that face south on 11th Avenue. For the inspiration and references, it was pretty easy to find a lot of great pictures of repetitive housing throughout Ybor. Very few of these are left, a few of these little conglomerations of collections of houses, but it sure was great. Even the 2-story down there in the middle, I just love those. My house is marching down there. I believe that the one up here in the upper right is the one that's on 4th Avenue still, but I may be wrong. And the mix, if you look at the bottom row in the center, there was a mix of these continuous little roofs and a large house there. On the right bottom is 3 historic houses and a new construction. It's a 2-story. But this was, and in the center here is a tiny little house next to a big 2-story house. So anyway, it's a lot of fun to look at all that. I only put in as a joke kind of this upper, to show that they did have backyards and they did use those. And of course, it's sad that most of this work is gone. Okay, so now this is the site plan for D. It's 6 units, as I said. They all have separate, they are joined units, but they have a 10-foot recess in where they're joined. So the porches are all out in line with existing house on the far right corner, and then push back 10 feet is that connection, so that we are trying to conceal that connection. The garages are separated, detached with little courtyards there, entered off of the alley, the garages, and then there's the sidewalk we talked about for the cans. We'll continue the existing sidewalk pattern in the public right-of-way, as well as up to the porches at each individual spot there. And of course, the front setback seems to be very close to the porch setback from the adjacent home. We can look through these real quickly. The ground level plan is all living area, 6-foot deep porches. The upper level is 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. The AC units in these units is on the roof of the garage, which has a parapet around it, and is detached there, which you'll see there.
The roof plan, you can begin to see that we're creating gables that face the street with crickets in between, so that that is the expression that we get when we combine the buildings. So the top one, the top elevation is all 6 of the units together, and then we just zoomed into half of it to show a little closer. The materials are hardy board siding with stucco on these recesses only and the rear elevation. So the siding will wrap 3 sides. It will wrap down the returns of these walls back to the stucco. Individual porches, we are proposing all metal work for these porches, no wood. We really want to incorporate that into our modern translation for these, so that they stand out differently from the historic homes, and also that they are easy to maintain and get right, get to looking good. The windows are 2/2, single hung, and we have clear front doors. We have similar mailboxes and letters and lights. The porches are raised up 2 feet. We are not required to have a railing for 2 feet, but we are putting in a built-in bench that will mimic that, and it'll be easier to see that in some other. If we move on, I forgot what I was doing. Side elevations, the windows on the side, again, the siding wraps that corner. You're seeing a downspout at the corner of each of those. There's corner trim. This is not sloped siding. This is not lap siding. It is like a novelty siding, where there's a groove, you know, and the wood is flat, and there's just a groove between the 2 pieces. That was actually, you could actually see that in one of my old photos that I just showed you. The garage is stucco, and we have black aluminum fences between the garage and between all of the courtyards across the way, and then from the house to the garage. We have a 10-foot setback in the front yard. That's what we're showing here, and we'll have a little bit of green space there as well. The rear elevation just repeats the gable design, and then you see on the enlargement just the garage, simple garage on the foreground, very much like the others you've seen. These are 2-car garages. Here's a section through the front porch with the shed roof corrugated metal on that roof, the separation of the courtyard, and then the garage. We've pulled the AC units close to the house so that they're less visible from the alley, from the public right-of-way. We have measured the height of the building as compared to the adjacent home, and are matching that. It's about 24 inches. So we'll have 3 steps up to that porch, 6 feet deep. The details are very similar, except that we have the wood siding. We're showing again, we have masonry walls, so we'll have a nice deep set in for the windows. We are wrapping the corners with a little small trim, and there's the small overhang at the ends of the, not at the gable ends, but at the other portion, which is a 8-inch, I think, an 8-inch overhang there. Wood trim around, hardy board trim around the windows that are in the siding. A similar railing. And the finishes. and they are similar except for the wood siding and the trim around the windows where we have that. I keep calling it wood, but it's cementitious. Gable ends, lights, very similar. What did I miss? Anything? And that's the rendering of that street scene. The renderer put a Tesla in the foreground. Oh, here, I apologize. Here's where the idea of the bench has come in to, instead of a railing, because we have nothing really to attach the railing to without adding more columns. So we've just got that stationary bench there. It's only about 8 or 12 inches wide. And I think it'll be a simple but prominent feature that will, have a wave to the seat rails that were used to be on the first floor. I believe I've completed. Did I miss anything that needs to be pointed out? Asphalt shingles, excuse me. Composition shingles on the roof, except the roofs of the porches will have the corrugated metal.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. Staff's finding this application is consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines. We also looked at these drawings on May 8, 2024. Under conditions, we had a couple of items. With new construction for a residential fabric, first thing we start with is setback and elevation from grade. They showed the historic house that's towards the east, and they're matching the setback and the elevation from grade there. That's the only historic fabric that they have in the immediate vicinity. The mechanicals are on this one on the accessory structure. They're located properly close to the house, and it does have a parapet. The alley is a vehicular corridor, but it's also a pedestrian corridor, so we try to keep that as pedestrian friendly as possible moving forward, and I think that this request accomplishes that. There is a fence that goes from the primary structure to the accessory structure. Initially, there was a brick wall that was there. After further discussion for airflow, they opened it up to have that metal fence that was illustrated in the drawings. So just to give you a little bit of history. And this one, there was some discussion about the solid waste pickup. They have a path along the side of the project, and then the trash will come out to 11th Avenue. Looking at the elevations, the gable looked a little bare, if you will. They incorporated the gable vent as part of the discussion moving forward. The earlier illustrations was lacking a foundation. The siding went all the way down to grade, and in this one they incorporated a stem wall. I believe that's going to be stucco. She could discuss the material. We discussed maybe introducing a different railing to get a little playful, if you will, but there's 6 houses there. I don't know if that gets a little cartoonish. If not, but that was a discussion we had internally. And then the last item that I have is the final color palette. So they're illustrating here in the rendering that it's all going to be white, and if that's the direction they're going to go, they need to put that into the record. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vila.
White.
Anyone here from the public wishing to comment?
Hi, James Wilson again. I had a talk with Michael about the garbage cans in the alley, because I don't know how they're gonna bring them, but I guess if it's in the front, if it works out, that's fine.
We've added a sidewalk.
It's a,
So we added the sidewalk right there to bring them forward.
okay. Alrighty. All right, thanks. That's it.
Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we can ask some questions of the applicant. Mr. Wynn.
All right, so with the mechanical unit on top of the garage, how, is there a conduit running on the back of the garage going underground to connect back to the main house? Okay. Just want to make sure it's stuck on the side of the fence or something, so it's kind of weird.
It's gonna double as a clothesline, we're gonna,
Right.
it would be appropriate, I
Yeah,
think, you know?
maybe, yeah, maybe one day. Let's see, other than that, let's see, so then the stem walls, we kind of talk about, it's gonna be stuccoed, around the bottom of the house.
Yes,
Support. We can do the final finish colors later, and then, can light underneath the balcony roof? The canopy?
yes, I believe we have, yeah, on the second floor. The first floor has a light fixture by the door.
The door,
yeah.
yep. Okay. I believe that's all my questions.
In that previous drawing, it appeared that there was a small parapet around the top of the garage.
Yeah,
That hardly is. There was a comment in the conditions about buffering the mechanical equipment, but that's not going to do it very well. And there were no elevations of the rear wall, the wall facing the garage and the garage facing the house. I'm imagining from the floor plan, it looks like there's a stoop on that floor plan that goes from that courtyard into the house, and the garage is at a lower elevation.
right, correct.
Okay. The little courtyards they don't look very happy, but they just.
They're
I guess-
blank canvases.
Urban living.
Right. And the fence between the units is now a picket fence and not a solid?
It is, we really want the airflow to be able to go through, and, you know, we'll use landscaping to provide some
Right, yeah,
privacy.
okay. Those are my questions.
No question? Okay. Okay, so I think you've done a nice job here with the finished floor, matching Mr. Wilson's house with matching that elevation, which explains your higher stem wall up front and your garage on grade here. We haven't really talked about any of the projects, but what are you gonna do with all the stormwater on this one? The other projects have like drainage. Is it all gonna be captured and put into a vault? For this one, you have multiple downspouts and gutters on both sides of the building.
Yeah, you want to speak to that?
Yes, correct. All of the stormwater is gonna be retained underground through vaults. I mean, through permitting, this is gonna be permitted as one site work, permit, you know, with all the access and drainage and all of that. So we'll have to work with the city of Tampa to meet their requirements.
Are those vaults under the alley? Are they proposed back there? or-
They won't allow us to put them under their alley.
So they're under the houses?
They're gonna be under, I mean, in some of the, I'm not an engineer, you know, we've been working with our engineers, you know, we've done tighter sites before, but technically, they'll be, they could be under our portions of the alley, they could be under, the garage,
The drives that are
drive,
behind.
yeah,
some of
other
them.
green spaces, you know, they get creative. They'll just have to be deeper in those areas than, you know, that are normal, but standard practice for a urban, infill site like this.
Sure. Let's go to our front elevation of the building.
Okay, that's this?
Yeah, so between the buildings, it's gonna be hardy board everywhere on the face, but in between the building, it's gonna go back to stucco?
Correct.
Okay, so you'll trim that out, the hardy board will go return in and die right there, and then stucco just for that front wall.
Yeah,
Okay. Alright, rear elevation, please. Okay, what are those things next to the garage? Are those meters? Is that Tico?
Yeah, electric meters.
Okay. Have you talked to them yet?
No.
They're not gonna like that.
We haven't talked to
Going
them.
out on a limb here, but they're not gonna like that. So I think your meters are gonna end up in different places. I don't know, you know, with, there might be meter banks.
Meter bank
banks
and-
for the
yeah.
sides and then.
We're used to adjusting for them, you know,
Yep.
that's the way it goes.
Okay. And let's see, did it finish for, so let's, I'm sorry, let's go back to the front elevation. Let's talk about your benches. Are those gonna be fixed?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna bolt it to the concrete?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And your windows are all 2/2s?
Yep.
Single hung? Okay, shingles up top, okay. That's all I have for questions right now.
I have one more question. Is there a reason why all the buildings are white now? All of them that
yeah.
we've seen so far are white.
Oh, well, the reason, there's a couple reasons on that. I mean, on this, in the Teach building, in this building in particular, I mean, and if you look at the historic reference of most residential structures, they were painted white because it was very utilitarian. It was, hey, these are places, you know, for workers to live. And what's the most cost-effective way to put them up? I personally like white buildings. I do want to work with staff to, you know, maybe some should be a gray, a white, or a different color. And we do have another building on the block that is a red brick as we go further along. But I think, you know, the shade and tone, definitely, we need to look at that in totality, to work with staff and come up with, and our design team to come up with what's best. So I'm not set on it all the way.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, you have a few moments if you want to summarize or rebut anything that we've discussed.
I just want to say on this particular one, you know, really the challenge for us here and what our vision was to create some like more multi-generational housing in Ybor, because a lot of the units, new construction, whether it be apartments or existing homes, where people in the past used to live multi-generations in 900 square feet or 1,100 square feet, and that's, you know, not typically the case anymore. So our thought here was really, how do we create that in a tight space where people are still getting that urban experience? They're choosing to live in an urban environment with all the amenities and culture and diversity, but still, can we get 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a garage for your bikes, a car, and a little private green space, and communal space in the front to interact. So like I'm very passionate about this, happy about it, because I think it gives that housing stock that doesn't exist in volume in Ybor, and this is only, you know, 6 of them, but it provides an option.
Okay. Yeah, it's my favorite. I'll let you know that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. Have any discussion among the commissioners, Mr. Wynn?
No, I think it's a nice project, just like the previous two, and I like the idea of this multi-generational housing, and it will be a boon for Ybor City.
Yeah, same. Great addition, especially because there's nothing on the block other than one more structure.
No comments.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think this is a nice project. I think it's well detailed. You know, I think, you know, Stephanie's team does an awesome job, as well as Mr. Minsberg. This one really is a little bit more historic than the others, a little bit more residential on a 2-story scale, which is important for that neighborhood. In relation to A and B, you know, those are 3 stories. It's more of a transition, but this is really more residential in the heart. And I think, you know, we've heard from the residents that they're really welcoming of this here, and I think it's respectful of the other historic properties on site. So, just a few conditions, I think.
Yep.
The typical ones.
So we can move to grant a certificate of final approval of the conditions, and move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 24-0000054D for the property located at 2210, 2214, 2216, 2220, and 2220 rear East 11th Avenue, with the following conditions: that the applicant work with staff to finalize finishes on the building, the applicant work with staff for any final signage, and the applicant work with staff for any final hardscape and landscaping. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons: that it meets the design criteria for new construction based on height and width, facade width, setback, spacing, alignment, similarity of details and forms, and building materials.
Second.
Oh, second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. There's been a number of conditions placed on this application. As the applicant acknowledges, they are in agreement with these applications. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, well, we're on a roll now, so you want to keep going?
I'm fine with going.
Everyone
and you- Okay. Okay. I will. Oh, you don't have to say anything? Oh. Just looking for a little break. Okay, we are at Building C, or Charlie we call it, and I think Ron mentioned this in the beginning, that originally this was conceived as one building, and the design team and owners got together and felt like this area on the site faces a half a block north, and then there's interstate, and we felt like if there was going to be a more commercial-looking building, that this would be the place to do it. And we originally were using industrial looks for achieving that, or references. And but staff suggested that was not appropriate, because even though the area has been changed a lot over time, it wasn't typically a place where we had there were industrial buildings like there are in South Ybor. So we went back to the Sanborn maps and studied residential neighborhoods, and we discovered that throughout residential neighborhoods were small local schools and churches and other commercial buildings. And these are what we honed in on for reference for our building. We found 10 schools located on this map of Ybor, which goes from, well, it takes us to 22nd and Nebraska at least. St. Pete Claver on the bottom left, a 2-story brick with a sloped roof. VM Ybor School, the main building was a 2-story brick, again with a sloped roof. And the ancillary building in the back was simpler and squared off. Booker T. Washington is actually originally, you can see on the site overview here that the original building was a rectangular brick, 2-story brick building. And the one on the top left is St. Joseph's Academy. It was connected to a church. And the academy, the church obviously was the primary building, and then the academy was a simpler masonry building off to the side. So we ran with this reference, and we're happy to find it. So on the site plan, we've got, let's see, I think I have an enlarged one. Yeah. So here, all of the entries so we have a 4-unit building on the corner of 23rd and 12th, and a 6-unit building facing 12th. And that is just to break down the scale and hierarchy of the buildings. I felt it was more important to have a smaller building on the corner. All of the entries are facing 12th, except for the corner unit of the east building, which has an additional entry that lines up with 12th Avenue, which is offset to the right of 23rd Street. We've talked about the courtyards. There's courtyards, detached garages, using the alley for all the vehicular access, new sidewalks everywhere, pedestrian access through the center of the two buildings. And these buildings, because of the model we're using, the references, we felt that entry stoops were more appropriate here than continuous porches. The floor plan is very similar to the others, living level on the first floor and bedrooms on the second, with detached garages, and you understand the stepping of these garages, which will vary the courtyard sizes. And again, we have the air conditioning units forward on the garage. There's some little roof elements over the duplex kind of entries that we've got. You see those in plan. The building on the right has a sloped metal roof, a standing seam metal roof, and the building on the left or west is another flat roof building. This is the east building, which is on the corner, and it has a smaller footprint than the west building. So we've got a fairly simple red brick building with a water table detail, the entry stoops, and shared entries, two together at each location. The standing seam metal roof happens on the little entries with brackets and on the main roof. The windows are single hung with the 2/2 design, and we have small recesses of brick, some little brick detail between, to fill that wall space between the two window levels. We're using soldier course headers and masonry sills. Little detailing at the top, 2-foot overhang on the roof, and some foam pieces there at the top. To the right, you see the edge of the next building and that space between the two. And then you see 23rd on the left-hand side. This is the end elevation. And I don't know why, but some of these windows, the line work isn't showing up, but those are all 2/2 windows with, again, some recesses for accent, and that primary entry for that special unit on the end. Again, the garages are detached, and there's a metal picket designed fence between. This is the rear elevation. The brick wraps around the corner 12 inches, and then the rest of the building in the rear is stucco. And again, we're missing the elevation that shows the building without the garage. I apologize for that. Here's a section. This is unfortunately the building that gets the smallest courtyards. We have, the courtyard itself is 12 feet. But we have a 6-foot overhang of the second floor, so, it's usable space on the ground, but it's not a lot of airspace. So this is the thing we were trying to avoid for all those other garages where we could have a little more space between the garages and the houses. So here you see the sloped roof over the entryway, the metal brackets there, a little stoop with little sidewalls, and the deeper windows in the 8-inch walls, and a similar detail for the garage. We stepped down from that elevation in the house to grade in the garage. These are those details, roof details. Some you've seen before. This adds the entry detail and the roof eave detail brackets. And these are the color selections. This we're using a red brick, which Michael has that sample of there. Using the similar light fixtures and lettering. Here's the metal fence, little stoop there, and then the recessed bands in the brick. We're not using bands, but we're using shapes. But that would be how we achieved that with a recess. And the standing seam metal roof. This is the west building. So you can barely see the east building on the left-hand side there. These buildings, similar to what we discovered in the references, is that there was a primary building that kind of made a statement, and it was either in front of the rest of the buildings or it was on the corner or something. And then the other buildings, like additional classrooms, some auditorium and that kind of thing, they were more simplified, and they, even though they might have been taller, they took second place to, they stood in second place to the main building. And so that's the attitude we had with this building, is to keep this one, is kind of the school annex, but all with similar details, the same level of finishes with the same detailing on windows, a simple parapet. We kind of treated this similarly to Building A, which is just to the right, just to the west of this building. But it has the stoops, and in this case we used the aluminum canopy rather than a sloped roof, just to differentiate. The side is treated very similarly with windows and then recesses. And the rear elevation with those electric meters that'll all move and so here we have courtyards between 10 and 16 feet of open air, so that gives us a nice space there. And of course the roofs, like everything else, slope to the back where the scuppers collect water. Oops, went the wrong way. And another section through the stoop with that canopy. Yeah. The finishes are very similar. Instead of the brick, we have stucco, but otherwise, all of the details are the same. And there's the two together. Michael?
Thank you, Stephanie. Just want to give you a little bit of the inspiration and thought behind this. I think this location here is very, very unique to Ybor. Commissioner Salaga, had previously mentioned on our Alpha and Beta buildings, had said, hey, like that there's the 3-story buffering and, on 22nd Street. And well, historically 22nd Street wasn't a commercial corridor and we didn't want them to look commercial, but what's happened today, it's just been impacted. It's changed. You can't bring that urban fabric back. And so in this location, looking north at the interstate and the McDonald's and Burger King, kind of feel like it was a similar condition where, hey, coming into the neighborhood, having something a little more institutional or industrial looking, we felt like that was appropriate. I think the easier thing would have been, frankly, for us to take the building you just approved, Charlie, and put it on the other side and say, hey, there's plenty of examples of having that much of the same type of home on the same block historically, and we could have gone like this. I think this was actually more challenging, but I think it creates a different product type. You know, these are smaller units, creates a different look, some interest, an opportunity to pay homage to a lot of those schools that are now gone in here. And I think, you know, interior-wise, we're gonna get to play with some fun finishings like exposed, you know, CMU and concrete floors that I think, you know.
Set it apart from the other?
Yeah, just be fun and different, you know. So it's a little bit of us getting, you know, I'd say development's half an art, half a science. You know, this is us getting creative and worked with staff on it a lot. So thank you again, and so I hope you like it. Yeah.
We had, only other thing, I have one more exhibit that shows all the buildings together. This is the raw land with 22nd in the foreground. And this is the build-out, all white, even the existing buildings are white. We're done, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Vila, staff for Historic Preservation. This project is very challenging for all of us, and we spent a lot of time, as everybody's indicated. I believe that there is a transition east of 22nd that moves into the residential core. If this is to be reviewed and approved, I think the motion should be strong, indicating that first block off of 22nd is that transition, and as you continue, that this model might not be appropriate for other parcels within that eastern historic portion of Ybor City. So just keep that in mind. There were different references used for this to break down the massing. As with all the projects this morning, when it first came in, it was a larger footprint. We went to the Ybor City Design Guidelines to look at the facade width, the alignment, and the similarity and details and forms with some of the historic fabric. She showed some illustrations of these larger institutional buildings speckled into the district. They were a catalyst for the development. You have your cigar factories, and then you have the churches and these buildings, a larger format that the residents gravitated towards. So there is some reference for that moving forward. On the site, we looked at how it relates to the urban environment. There's two streets that it faces. The eastern street, 23rd Street, should not have been left, unadorned. So that's why they put that secondary entrance. That's very characteristic in these older homes that have these secondary entrances, either a wraparound porch or some kind of entrance for that pedestrian circulation. We looked at the mechanicals as well. We keep on coming up with mechanicals, but they're visually intrusive if they're not done properly. These are on the secondary structures as well, and it does have a parapet. And the placement of the units are very important. If they're placed closer to the the borders, then it's visible. Placed properly, then it's more not visible from the exterior. So we look at the overall height and width of the buildings and how it incorporates into the historic environment and the environment that was discussed today as well. So after looking at these, I believe it's broken down. The references were provided, and the internal circulation, they separated the buildings with that interior walkway for everybody to maneuver around. And having said that, I will be here to answer any questions as it develops. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vila. Anyone here from the public wishing to comment? Please come forward.
My name's Richard Trooper. I definitely support this one. It's the one that I'll be seeing from my house. Right now, it's just vacant land there. Occasionally, homeless people sleep on there. So this would be way better than what we have now. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Yes, good? Okay. We can start with some questions of the applicant, Mr. Torres.
Yeah.
Can I come back to me?
All right. Yeah, it's getting late in the
Yeah.
day.
I think my only point of hesitation when you look at the two buildings side by side is the starkness of the contrast between the white building, the west building, and the east building, where the east building actually feels warmth and kind of addresses the examples that you had given for the inspiration of the design direction on those buildings. And I would just want to ask if you wouldn't want to reconsider bricking the west building as well as the east.
I think that's a great question. It's something we actually looked at, all stucco, all brick, one building, two buildings. It's kind of by design that one is less impressive than the other, as Stephanie had mentioned. You know, it's the schoolhouse, and then they had the accessory structures. You know, one of the things we worked with staff a lot with was to break the massing, and that's why they are one stucco and one is brick. So.
But perhaps if it wasn't white.
Yeah, yes, I'm not committed to the color, yes, I'm not committed to the color. There, I would openly work with staff to find something and talk to other shareholders in the community even and get their opinions on, you know, what colors would look good. So we can play with that with technology, thankfully. So I'm happy to put that in our, into the approval.
That was my only comment. All the other relevant comments have been responded to in the previous building presentations.
Since you have the site plan up, are the courtyards, are they gonna be internally drained? Will each courtyard have a drain? I'm just a little worried about, especially with the ones that kind of are a little bit of a choke point, you know, just like water running one way or the other through them.
Yes, we'll work with our engineers. I mean, whether it's French drains tying into, I think they're gonna have to tie into the vaulted.
They will,
system,
yeah, for sure.
So, yeah,
I just
so.
don't want one unit and one of the points gets like all the rainwater kind of flooding through it, you know, when it kind of narrows in.
Yeah, the grading and drainage is gonna be very important for quality.
Can you pull up the elevation from the east side or from North 23rd Street? Let's take a look at that again. Okay, and there's the fence and pull out so we don't see. And so then for the way that the brick returns, it just returns on the main building 12 inches on the back. So we'll see a little bit of that stucco kind of stick out from where the garage is. Is that right? From where it kind of sets back a little bit, right? From
You can see
inside?
it on the rear elevation.
On the rear elevation.
What we did here is,
Okay.
I want to go back to the plan.
It should go all the way down. The fence ties in.
Right.
We've extended this, the second floor cantilevers out over. See that on the far right, where the wall, sorry, I know.
Okay,
There's overhangs the stoop in the back.
Yeah, so we've extended the brick there and then wrapped it around the corner here, so that,
Okay.
yeah.
It goes all the way back into the main structure?
It can go back, all the way back to the, yeah, that would be a great little brick wall in the courtyard, yeah.
Does that wall go both stories?
Yes.
Okay.
It's, so the second floor comes out to that point, the first floor does not. And that's why we have a window in there that we're showing as a louver, just to get some airflow there. But, you know, the second floor, so it goes kind of like this, you know? The second floor. Sorry, I'm wavering my.
And are those with that elevation, are those windows supposed to be consistent? The ones just to the right of those louvers, are they supposed to be 2/2s as well?
They are, yeah, the line
okay,
work is just not showing up in
All
the.
right. I know our monitors were having difficulty showing some line work as well. I just wanted to confirm. And then could you pull up that rendering with the two buildings side by side again? I'll make sure. So is the floor-to-floor height of the white building,
one
it's a
is
little
on the
lower
outside.
as well,
It
right?
is,
Usually
yeah.
The windows are
And the
It
other
is.
one
a little lower,
is kind of-
kind of thing. All right, I think,
Why is that?
yeah.
Why is the finished floor lower?
Well, let's put it this way, the brick building is higher. You know, again, just to make it,
It's more
Primary,
prominent?
More prominent, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're still 10-foot ceilings. It's just that we added a couple of feet to the brick building height.
On the first floor?
I think it's
The
yeah, I think we split it half and half is what we did.
Because, yeah, the first floor windows look the
They
same,
look aligned, yeah.
Yeah,
and then the second one just a little bit.
well, this is, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You probably wouldn't want to add height to the first floor of the brick building, because then it reduces your porches, your courtyards in the back too, even more. Additional step.
More stairs, yeah. Kind of shows things more. Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you so much.
So you showed us an elevation on the exterior end, the interior end between the buildings, that's gonna have windows there too? And a louver,
Yes.
just like,
It will be detailed just like the other end, yes.
and
The corner units, you know, they get more windows.
more light, yeah. One of my, secondary concern is like the interior units are all gonna have very limited natural light, in there, just because there's not like super deep, but, there's no side lights there. Your standing seam metal roof, it is standing seam metal roof, not a 5B crimp?
Yes,
Okay, and it's like a galvanized natural finish?
yes, that's our plan.
Okay.
But again, you know, we'll do mock-ups like we always do and have staff out to finalize those choices.
Yeah, I think when I look at this, the hip kind of bothers me there, just residential, I think, I know what your design inspiration here is from the schools, and that takes a longer form, that's what the hip follows. I think residential typically would have it rotated the other way and be more like gabled in. And I guess it's just a different form than what we've seen before. I think one of my other concerns when we talk about the building on the corner, building A, that's a stucco building, and now that you're introducing brick on this end, on the west side, it's almost like building A should have been the brick one and the other one stucco, maybe just to bookend them and tie them in a little bit, but I'm just kind of speaking aloud.
The reason we did that was because the traffic is coming north, so they see the brick one more than the stucco one, so. But, yeah, I think
Yeah.
we could go back and forth. Because that's a good point also, so.
Yeah,
And this one, I know it's 6 units, just like the west building, right? They're both 6-unit buildings? No, 4 and 6.
No, 4 and 6, yeah.
But this one seems like the brick one seems like it's lengthier, making it more of an expand. I guess they both.
I think
seem
that's just the
kind of
angle.
I think it's just the
angle.
perspective.
Yeah, we actually, the reason that one ended up being 4 and the other one being 6 was from our research, those main school ones were smaller typically.
Yeah.
Right.
What we measured,
Yeah.
actually, the length and width of those to get them into scale with what
Yeah.
was historically accurate.
What's the pitch on that?
I'm not sure if we're showing like a 5 or
5?
I haven't found it yet.
I'll take Michael's word for it.
512, there it is on the section, he's right. Normally, he's right.
Yes. So going back to the section, we were just on that. Minor detail. How are you going to get are you doing gutters and downspouts from the upper roof, or just a drip edge there?
We are doing gutters and downspouts, yeah.
So you're going to have to get that down through the courtyard somehow.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be a little tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we talk about, let's see, the openings over the stoops, over the main entries there? Is that like a hip type of shape to relate to the roof?
Yep.
Did you consider using just the cantilevered flat stock opening like you're using everywhere else? Or is it related more to the roof?
Yeah, it just was to differentiate. Staff felt like the roofs on the white building, on the west building, were more industrial and less appropriate for the brick building.
And when we go up here, we got a stucco base, pediment, then we're going up to our windows, reveals, another set of windows, and then you have a foam band, then it
Yep.
goes back to brick, another foam band.
Yes,
Okay, so is that brick the same color as below, and it's just kind of shown in shadow? Is that,
Yes.
looks a little darker?
no, it's the same brick.
Okay.
Yeah, because the shadow goes under the canopy as well. That changed color.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I have for right now. Any other questions?
Oh. So, is there any lighting in between the two buildings along that pedestrian walkway? It's got kind of a long run, so I think some lighting
that's a
should
good
potentially
idea.
be added.
That's a good idea.
Taking
Yes,
trash
we'll
out at
have-
night or whatever
We'll have
else,
lighting.
right?
You know,
So, yeah.
we try to minimize decorative lighting on these buildings, and so we might do walkway lighting, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's fine too. Yep, great.
Yeah, windows in there.
Yeah. Yeah, other than that, I can kind of understand the sort of annex look for the secondary building, but maybe if it just kind of repeats maybe the extra layer banding at the top of the parapet, or maybe a little bit of a water table or something, could maybe do something for, it has a water table, doesn't it?
The second building,
Yeah,
yeah.
the second building, I just can't see it on this view for whatever reason, but,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
and it might be our monitors too, kind of something like that. If we can just go back to the rendering, just kind of finishing it off. I don't think I have another question or anything. Just want to take another glimpse. Yeah, okay, so there's some echoes there between the two. Okay,
What's your overhang on the roof?
2 feet.
2 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? You've heard some of our discussion. You have a few minutes to summarize or rebut anything, and then we're going to close the public hearing.
I don't think we have anything.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll start with discussion of the case.
As most of the previous buildings that they show, building's nicely detailed, it's well thought out. It does seem very commercial for like a residential building, but I can kind of understand, just given the rest of their site and developments and everything that we've kind of seen, you know, why this route was kind of taken. I think, as Ron mentioned, this is sort of a unique site and location where it is transitioning off of 22nd, so I think it'd be appropriate for this use, for this location.
His recommendation was if we were to approve with a condition that it doesn't repeat, going in the residential neighborhood.
Say that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
he stepped out for a second, but he'll be
Here he
back.
comes.
But I think it was unique in the sense, yes, because it's transitioning off of 22nd, that this shouldn't be a building that, it shouldn't set a precedent for the area, right?
Right.
In that
Can you
regard.
repeat that comment once more? Sorry.
Well,
Which comment? He was out of the room.
Well, I think it's the one, yeah, excuse me, I went to go get something, but I think it was that this is a transition area from 22nd. And as you come into that first block, I think that transition is acceptable to receive this kind of scale and massing. As you continue to move to the east, I believe that the residential fabric should take precedent of what's established. So 22nd has changed, as we indicated, and we saw some illustrations this morning. That first block, as you come in from 22nd to 23rd, can receive, models that were presented today, and then, from then on, it'll be a case-by-case situation.
Right. That more is speaking to the expansion of the development into the
Right.
neighborhood
Yeah,
than
and I think I
this
agree.
particular
I
one.
definitely agree with that. It's the largest building on the 23rd side, and as we kind of go across the development, it gets more and more residential as we kind of go east.
I would just like to keep into the conditions the conversation that you would have with staff regarding the color of the second building so that the contrast is not so stark.
Yeah, I think I'm still kind of struggling with this as a housing typology. It kind of reminds me of, some apartment,
Well, but that
apartment
was-
homes like in,
Chicago?
yeah.
Hyde Park?
It doesn't really have like an Ybor feel to it. It's not, yes, I get the design
Well,
inspiration that it's with the schools. I'm looking at Robert E. Lee Elementary,
Yeah.
right here. That's what I'm seeing.
I see a cigar factory, actually.
Yeah.
So, to me, it doesn't seem as offensive as it appears
I wouldn't
to
say
you.
it's offensive, it just seems like it's, I think they've got a certain aesthetic and gestalt going on with everything else, and then it comes to this last building, and it's like, well, we're just gonna throw some brick on it, and I think what you were talking about with the color, maybe we make that, if you're able to add some color to that, and then, maybe this rendering just shows that as really true, but the project that I'm thinking of is the one that didn't get executed very well. It's the one from across from Lion's Eye, which is that single family red brick with the storefront is right up there on the face. They didn't flush that back, and I know you guys have that under control with being able to put your windows back, but that one just always looks like a sore thumb to me. But that has some remnants of this to me. So. I don't know, maybe it'd be better to soften it, or, I think they could work with staff on softening the brick there to a softer, instead of a deep red brick, make it maybe a little more sandy, reddish. But I was having a discussion.
Yeah, and probably what's coming to fore in your mind is the contrast between the two buildings.
Sure.
And it,
And if you make that transition back there, then that's not as bad,
Yeah.
so, as severe.
it
Could,
won't be, right.
Could a cantilever overhang change that? I don't know. Sort of like-
Cantilevered overhang where?
On top of the two entrances, can it be more like the other building to kind of like, would that change a little bit?
Well, they
Maybe.
discussed that
Yeah.
before, and it was a matter of trying to speak to the roofing form, and that the building to the west is more industrial looking, and the design team felt that it wasn't as appropriate a form for the building with the brick.
But that
And I-
typology always happens in brick buildings too.
It does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think it's,
In the scale, yes, we're seeing a cigar factory here, but the scale is really much smaller.
Right.
And it's
Right,
only 2
right.
stories, and it doesn't have all the typologies that you would
Right.
normally see. But, I think in general, I think once, plus everything looks, all the metal looks like it's a bronze, right? Where
It
we
does,
know it's
yeah.
a galvanized, and, so. I'm
I
sorry.
got no
There's
issue.
only
We've got the
so-
public hearing closed right now, so, but was your comment that is bronze?
No,
Okay.
No, it's galvanized.
no, it was just the roof wasn't showing up against the sky, so I just asked them to add some more depth to the color, and.
So, yeah, and I think when we go back to our staff report, I know we've got full agendas, and this is, I think they've got enough information here for a final, but this is a kind of a change in direction for us, and staff report still says, actually, did you guys change it? It's still a preliminary, right? So it could be,
yeah, Ron mentioned that if they had enough information, it could be considered a final.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, Rich, your concern is that if the brick fundamentally changes the identity of the entire block, like it doesn't necessarily fit 100%.
yeah, that's part of my concern, yeah. But, we're just talking among ourselves right now, so, if it's something that's, I don't know, maybe, whoa. Wow. you know, maybe if these overhangs go more to a traditional, then
Right.
we're tying, right now it just seems like it's a foreign type of element compared to everything that we've seen with the other three buildings. And maybe if it has some of the consistent elements, like a cantilevered overhang over the entries, then we can kind of tie it in and make it more of a gestalt with everything else. Because that's kind of a foreign element with the decorative brackets that, you know, with the curved arches and, maybe we still keep some of the industrial vibes of it, incorporate those elements, and then that would balance out the roof, the standing seam metal roof a little bit more.
I agree, because the steps are already kind of like the same, so that's gonna make it a little more uniform, so you just see like difference in the finish, almost.
Maybe that just ties it in a little bit better and soften the brick, or transition the color of this to a little bit darker, so it's not as stark. Because, yes, it is that last block of going into the residential neighborhood, and we've got elements of both there, which I'm okay with. So maybe it's just a minor step like that kind of softens it and transitions.
And maybe they can add something decorative to match this on that one, so it doesn't look that plain, because that was also a little bit of your concern, is, that the white just looks super white.
Well, and I think we're gonna say, that's gotta have some color.
Yeah.
Right, I think this has gotta have some color, maybe we bring these elements over here over the doors that are just the flat cantilever on the three entries there. And would that be enough to
So
blend
do
it a
you
little?
want to ask them to do this one as a preliminary and have them come back?
We could, or we could make those conditions here.
As a condition.
You know, I think we have two full agendas, I mean, if we're
Yeah.
talking minor elements, you know,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Yes,
continue to
that's
work with
true.
staff.
Yeah.
We could, you know, see if that's something that they're amenable to and
Right,
move
right.
forward.
And
I
then
think they're kinda
maybe-
looking for a final, so.
Right, yeah.
Get started.
And then maybe in future meetings, when Ron and Dennis are giving their reports, they could just update us.
Well, and I think that, like Ron mentioned before, they were working on this one right up to yesterday, today, this morning.
We
probably.
definitely were.
Right.
We don't know how many hours Michael worked on this over. I don't know,
Michael hasn't had his day off yet.
Yeah.
so,
Or even just some of those, like, the recesses that they have in the brick, they could be echoed in stucco.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
annex
yeah,
building
yeah,
over somehow
yeah.
as well, you know, bringing those,
No.
the same. No? You don't
No.
like that? You don't like that?
well, you got enough foam up here.
Yeah,
No,
well, foam.
no.
That's a, you know,
That's a nice
it's a matching
subtle-
band.
No
Subtlety.
stucco panels on the brick, no.
So, okay, yeah, so we can take a motion, and maybe, I'm comfortable if we change those couple elements and work with the stuff on the colors, and
All right.
one of these days, someone else is gonna have to make a motion over here, you know.
Right.
You know, it's a big one. So, a final approval of the conditions. So, move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in BLC 24-0000054C for the property located at 2207, 2209, 2211, 2215, and 2217 East 12th Ave, with the following conditions: that the they will call it Charlie East, take the canopies from Charlie West and incorporate them into its design. That the applicant work with staff to pick a color for the Charlie West building. That the applicant work with staff and their engineer to finalize any drainage and gutters in the courtyards for the building. Work with staff for for general final finishes, for site hardscaping and landscaping, and then they work with staff for lighting between the two buildings along the pedestrian walkway. Is there anything else I need to add?
Sounds like it.
All finished materials.
All right.
Yep. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Ybor City Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa based on the following reasons: that it meets the design criteria for new construction based on height and width, facade width, setback, spacing, alignment, similar details and forms of building materials. Was there something I should add about that whole transition from 22nd, about the size and scale? So that doesn't set us, yes. And that the Charlie East building, as part of the conditions, is a unique building in its size and scale because of the transitory nature of approaching 22nd Street. And then because based upon the finding of fact, so because it meets the Ybor City Design Guidelines. All right.
I second.
Okay, seconded. There's been a number of conditions placed on this application, including changing out some of the elements. Is the applicant aware of this and agrees to these conditions?
I'm aware, except I think they improved the overall design, so thank you very much.
So, yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, all in favor of said motion? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. All in favor of said motion?
I was saying you
say
made them better,
aye.
you made it better.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Let's see, we need a motion to receive and file.
Yes. So moved?
Second,
Second, all in favor to receive and receive and file, say aye.
aye.
Seeing no business before us, everyone have a great afternoon, and we are adjourned. Thank you.